Hey, thanks for checking out episode 53 of the Unlockable podcast. Hannah and I have completed an entire round of Dokapon Kingdom, specifically the Nintendo Switch remaster that came out in 2023, and we're super excited to talk about it. The game was incredibly unique, and we have a lot to unpack. We're about to hit 5 years of doing this podcast, and we're just really happy to continue growing and receiving support every month. Y'all are awesome. Please make sure to leave a review on whatever app you're listening to this on because it seriously helps more than you think. That's all for the intro. Let's roll. Welcome back to the Unlockable podcast. My name's Christian, and joining me per usual is the Game Girl Advanced SP herself.
That's me. How goes it, partner?
Would you say that you're a morning person, Hannah?
No. No. I am not. I hate the mornings. I never really see the sun unless it's coming up in the morning before I go to bed. What about you? I feel like you're definitely a morning person.
I am a night person, and I've been up since 6:15 today, so that's
How was
cool.
that? Was that before the sun rose?
It was kind of dark outside. People are listening to this that get up at 5 every day, and they're like, shut the heck up, you stupid millennial.
My brother's one of those people. He wakes up at like 3 o'clock every morning.
3?
Yeah, I don't know how he does it. He works construction, so.
Oh,
Whatever.
wow.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys talk between the hours of 3 and 5 right before you go to sleep.
Exactly. He's like, hey, just drinking my coffee. I'm like, hey, cool. Just died in this video game.
Well, we've done a lot of dying in video games the last month.
Yeah, definitely.
We just finished Dokapon Kingdom Connect on the Nintendo Switch.
Mm-hmm.
It's a remaster of an old Wii and PS2 game, and we thought that we would talk to you guys about it. Did you have any prior experience with this game?
No, I only knew about it, honestly, because back in the day when we were collecting the Wii, it was like one of the most expensive games on the Wii. I was like, oh, that seems really interesting. But that's all I knew about it.
To be clear, I still collect, but back in the day when you were collecting.
Right. That's true. Yeah. Sorry, didn't mean to throw you under the bus with me and that one, but yes.
This
Back in
has
the
always
day.
been one of those like hidden gem Wii games that people talk about. You never really hear anybody talk about it on PS2, I feel like.
Mm-mm.
But yeah, this was published by Atlas, and so it didn't have like a massive print run back in the day. It's probably like I haven't checked in a while, but it's probably like $80 to $100. It might have gone down since this came out. But
That's crazy.
yeah, I honestly, what I've always heard about this game, and probably what everyone's always heard about this game, is that it is a board game RPG, right? Like that's the easiest, quickest way to describe Dokapon Kingdom,
Mm-hmm.
and that has always enticed me. I've seen gameplay before, and I've just always been like, wow, that looks like a fun game I would enjoy. And we'll talk about it, but I'm happy to say that I enjoyed the game. Pretty solid.
I was too, and I was actually kind of sad that it ended as abruptly as it did. Like, I thought we had at least another 2 or 3 hours, and then it ended. I was like, oh, well, yeah, I guess that's good, because now we get to talk about it. But also, I feel like we just scratched the surface.
Yeah. Without getting too into detail, I guess let's talk about a little history. So just to give a little bit of overview and insight here, it's the 29th of August. We typically get one episode out per month, and we're trying to get this out before the end of August. So
Right?
we have, 24 to 48 hours. So needless to say, not going to be super in-depth on the history this time around. Hannah actually took care of all the history research because she's just the best.
Oh, thank you.
And we did make some really good notes for the meat of the episode here. So I'm gonna let Hannah take it away a little bit with the history for a few minutes, and then we're gonna dive on into the general, not the general, but the gameplay and the plot a little bit. And yeah, you know what we usually do, guys. I'm going to shut up. Go ahead, Hannah.
Okay, I'll take it away. So I broke the history down into kind of 4 things. We're going to talk about the original game. We're going to talk about development info of the Switch title, then the series kind of history, and then a bunch of the games in the series, because it's actually a huge, prolific series, just not in the US, which is unfortunate. So a little bit of info on the original game. So it was developed and published by Sting Entertainment for the PS2 in Japan. The PS2 and Wii versions came out in the US on October 14th of 2008, but those were published by Atlas USA, but they were obviously still developed by Sting Entertainment. It's actually a remake, which I didn't know, of a 1994 Super Famicom title, Dokapon 321. So, there's a whole other history there.
Definitely didn't know that until recently. I had no idea that the series was that old.
I didn't either. And there's even mobile games, which we'll get to in a second. But yeah, so specifically the Switch title, you mentioned this earlier, but it came out May 9th, 2023. It's a remaster of the game on the Wii. It added upgraded graphics and allows online connectivity to play with friends and just randos, which is psychopathic. I don't know who in their right mind would stick for 40 hours with some random people on the internet.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know of one game that was probably completed. How could you? How could you communicate with them to be like, hey,
there's
hop
no
on?
way.
No, absolutely not.
What a weird inclusion.
I mean, I guess it's cool, but like, I almost guarantee 100% that no game was finished all the way through. No way.
Ever.
This one was developed by Idea Factory, Compile Heart, and again, Sting Entertainment. Compile Heart is actually a subsidiary of Idea Factory, most known for their Hyperdimensions Neptunia series, and their record of Agarest War. Have you ever heard of that one?
Yeah, I have played one of them. That's like a huge series. So Sting is the developer. I think the other two are just publishers.
Ah, okay. Makes sense. But, yeah. Sting Entertainment has had a partnership with Atlas and Idea Factory throughout the years, so they're kind of intertwined in most of these. Sting's other titles include Baroque. I think that's what it's called.
I have that.
Do you? It's on the Wii, isn't it?
On the Wii, yeah.
Yeah. Dokapon, obviously, and then Department Heaven series, which I have never heard of.
Nope.
And then it was obviously published by Idea Factory International. So that's fun. And then it's weird, I didn't really dive too far into this, but series development history. The series was actually created by Asmic Ace Entertainment. I don't know if they're still bebopping around out there somewhere, if they were absorbed by one of these other companies, I'm not sure. But the first game in the series is called, pardon my Japanese here, Kessen Dokapon Okuko 4 Densetsu no Yusha Tachi. And if you're wondering why it has a 4 in there, the 4 actually refers to the number of players that it supported. So it's not the 4th in the series, which confused the heck out of me. Because I thought 3, 2, 1 would be the first, and then 4 would be the next one, but no. Alas, it is not. Released in Japan on December 10th of 1993 for the Super Famicom. And it was the first of 4 Dokapon games released for the Super Famicom. The other ones were obviously Dokapon 321, which I just said, Dokapon Gaiden, and BS Dokapon Gaiden, which came out for the Famicom Satellivision, Super Famicom Satellivision. So, or Satellaview, Jesus.
There you go.
Gosh, now me getting roasted in the comments about that one. Anyway, so yeah, that one's definitely lost to time, forever gone.
Right.
But yeah. And then just some more about the series, because it is, like I said, very prolific. Several games of the series. The series is even so big that it has side games, and it has mobile games. Don't know if the mobile games are still active, but I feel like they probably are. So the 2 that I already mentioned, Kessen Dokapon Okuko 4, Dokapon 321, Dokapon Sword of Fury, which is a PS1 game. There's also a remaster of that one out, and it's like, this one is obviously the one that we played was 3D, but this one's 2D and 2.5D. And it actually got a remaster, and it is on the Switch, but it's only, as far as I can tell, in Japanese. So that was a big bummer, but it's only $35. So, like, we could check it out and see it. But I couldn't imagine trying to play this in Japanese. It would just be way too confusing. You think the English one's confusing? No way. Other games in the main series is Dokapon DX, Dokapon the World, Dokapon Kingdom, Dokapon Journey, Dokapon Up, and then the side games include Dokapon Gaiden, which I already said, Dokapon, Millennium Quest, and Dokapon Monster Hunter. So that one sounds awful. Just kidding.
The
Monster Hunter
is... So we only got 3 games. Dokapon Journey, Kingdom, and then that last one, Dokapon Monster Hunter.
Yeah. But,
you already said that?
Yeah, and then there's mobile games, which I didn't really care about, and then of course the remasters Sword of Fury and Connect, which is what we played. So yeah, it's everywhere. It's just not big here, which makes me sad because it is really fun.
Well, it's weird that this even got another release. Like, I understand that, like, the weird people like us who care about old games and,
Weird.
like we want the hidden gems, like, we want to play the games that were good on old platforms, sure.
Right.
But that is such a small percentage. Like, for Idea Factory to re-release this game, this nearly 20, it's like 15, 16-year-old game
Mm-hmm.
on a modern platform seems really crazy, and I don't know another human that has this or was
No.
excited for this.
Uh-uh. You asked me if it came out or was announced in a direct. I don't know. I feel like it must have
Yeah.
been for me to have, actually heard about it, but then you're like, you know about everything, which is not untrue. But I don't know if they picked this one specifically because it had already had a US release, so everything was already translated. They just had to update it, or if they think like this is the best one they've done. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's
Um
weird.
well, as you might expect, the Dokapon game on GBA is like $150 complete in box.
Mm-hmm. How about
It's
loose for
not
us loose
it's
collectors?
$35 is what it says. It's not too
Nice.
bad.
Nice.
I feel like I have done so much GBA research for the last few years. I feel like I've never seen this game in my life. Like, I didn't even know it existed. So, that's cool.
Yeah. Had we not looked it up, I don't think I would have known either.
Right.
I assume you play
But
that
yeah.
one connected, right? With cables?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you said it's a spin-off. It might not even be a multiplayer game for all I know. I have no idea.
Oh. Could be.
Um, we looked at the DS one, Dokapon Journey, a little bit. I was looking at the back of the cover art. Um, Not a super cheap game, but it looks very similar to Dokapon Kingdom, and it looks
Mm-hmm.
like, if you lived in Texas and we both had copies, like, I would love to just, like, get together every Friday and just freaking work through another Dokapon game.
Yes, I very much like this series, and I wish we had more over here. And we don't, and it
Yeah.
makes me sad.
Yeah, and it just doesn't feel like, I didn't look up sales numbers, or I don't know if they're out there, but it just doesn't feel like it did well enough to justify a sequel, you know?
No. No, I don't think so. And when I got it, I initially bought it for myself. I pre-ordered it because that's just what I do. And then I was like, "Ooh, this seems really fun and something that I think we would enjoy together." And I went to go buy your copy, and it was like sold out everywhere. So I don't know if it was like a very limited printing. I don't think you can buy it now. I think all the listings
Wow.
have been taken down. So it's kind of a, I don't want to say rare because I know that ruffles your feathers, but uncommon Switch game.
My rock feathers. That's a joke that will make sense
Yeah.
by the end of the episode.
Don't even get me started.
All right. Well, thank you for doing that research. I really appreciate that.
You're welcome. Always.
The audience appreciates it. Let's get into the other 90% of the episode here. So, not a lot of plot in this game. We're mostly going to be talking about the gameplay. The plot is laughable. It's not. You're not playing this game for the plot. Let's just put it out there.
Mm-hmm.
And we understand that, like, the majority of the people listening have never played this game. Why don't you go ahead and tell us the percentage that you got from your Instagram poll?
Oh, I can tell you. I think, if I remember correctly, it was 17%. No, 14% said yes, they have heard of this game.
Heard of
And
it?
then, I mean, played it. And then
Okay.
86% said no.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So Hannah asked her 40K followers on Instagram, and those were the results.
I don't even know if I believe that, if I'm being honest with you. I feel like the percentage is far, far less. They probably just read it. Oh, yeah, I've heard of that game. Sure, I've played it. I don't know if I believe that.
Somewhere between 0 and 14% is
Right. Yeah.
is the accurate number. Yeah, so Hannah and I played story mode. You and I played the entire game online co-op. It was.
Yes, we did.
I'm really glad that you bought this for me, whether it was Christmas, birthday, whatever. I'm really happy to have it. I'm really happy that we played it together.
Mm-hmm.
Because I might have mentioned it last episode, but I started playing this for like 30 minutes by myself. It was so boring. It's like not a game to play with CPUs.
Yeah.
um, but I will say the game had like literally no lag. We only got disconnected like once or twice.
Yeah.
So that was awesome. Um, and this is a Switch exclusive. We didn't mention that, I don't think, but this is just one way to play this in 2024. Unless it's on PC.
That makes sense. Actually, you know what? It is on Steam. It is on Steam.
Okay. Not completely exclusive.
Exclusive on consoles.
Yeah. All right, so let's dive in. So you just turn on the game, you go to online or local or whatever, and the first thing you're greeted with is personalizing your character. Your options aren't super vast. You know, you choose man or woman. You choose hairstyle. Do you choose hairstyle? It's been a minute.
No, I don't think you do.
I think maybe you choose hair color though.
You choose color, and that's just the color that all your talents and stuff will be, and that you'll be. The color is associated with you.
Right.
And then I think you just pick man or woman.
That's about it.
That's it. Not a lot of choices.
And then you get to choose your job in this game. And we're going to go into that later, but you're limited to 3 different jobs at the beginning. You can choose between a warrior, a magician, or a thief. And then you go into the CPUs. So if it's just me and Hannah, we have the option to play with either 1 or 2 or 0 CPUs. We decided to go with 2 CPUs, make it a 4-player game. And they can be weak, normal, or sneaky. I did actually, so you sent me a link of this forum post from 12 years ago. I did actually start reading that earlier. Basically, some guy was like sick and tired of not knowing what the difference is between weak, normal, and sneaky, which is a totally fair thing to feel, right? Like, what do those words even mean?
Right.
So he played by himself like an entire game of Dokapon Kingdom with these 3 CPUs on one on each level, and like summarized every chapter of the game, how they acted, what they did, and it was pretty crazy.
It was. I mean, it was such a prolific report. Like, it was like 6 different posts all in one, and it was incredible. I didn't read through the whole thing because I kind of figured where it was going to end. I kind of skipped around there in the middle and then ended up in the end. But very, very interesting. And they act so completely different.
Yeah.
Like, whatever programming they did behind the scenes, they're like, you get different experiences with all of these, which I think is really fun.
Yeah. It seems like a lot of love went into the design of this game, and not enough people have gotten to appreciate it, but I don't know.
I agree. They have something special.
I mean, I've never heard of another game that was an RPG Mario Party like this, but they might be out there. Might be a whole genre for all I know.
Yeah, could be.
Okay, so then the way that the game works, you get thrown in, you get a little plot at the beginning, and essentially the way that the game works is there are weekly rounds, and so you and the other 3 players, or however many you're playing with, get to choose. You roll the dice, quote unquote. In this game, it is a spinner. From 0 to 6, you can actually get a 0, which is hilarious.
And I did.
And so that's how you move. Okay, so you start at a space on the board. Everybody starts at the same space. And I say board, the board game is taking place on an entire world, like an entire planet. Literally has 7 different continents for you to traverse throughout the game. And the objective is essentially, to keep it high level for the moment, is you want to end the game with the most funds, the most money, the most assets is what they call it in the game. You want to have the most assets, and that is how you ultimately win the game. And and we'll talk about how you can acquire assets and everything. But just keep that in mind for now. Anything else we should mention here at the beginning?
I'll just set up the plot a little bit for you because I think it is kind of fun. So basically, you're in the kingdom. It's called Dokapon Kingdom, right? You all start at the king, the Dokapon Castle itself, and the king is like, "Hey, our land is being ravaged by all these monsters, right? Why don't you go out and kill all these monsters? Get back all of our towns, save the kingdom, blah 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 blah." And he's like, "Well, at the end, if you win, if you get the most assets, I'll marry you to my daughter, Penny, who shows up in like all the different chapters. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. But yeah, so if you win, you get to marry the princess." Woo!
Yes, that is certainly the most enticing reward.
Money, towns, castles? Nah. Penny the princess. Yes,
Princess
please.
Penny. Yeah. So let's talk about the map. It's 7 continents. They actually, Hannah, we found this out yesterday or recently, but they all represent continents of the actual Earth.
Yep.
So you don't realize that while playing. I mean, there's kind of like Afrique is Aprike. It's supposed to be Africa,
It's
obviously,
Africa.
and between the name and just like the way that like there's a giant desert and stuff, like it kind of clues you in that this one is supposed to be Africa. But like
Right.
they're not all that obvious. Like the United States is, or I'm sorry, North America is Clovis. I don't know what that means.
And we're like,
Um,
most of it is a forest. Like, we're just the
True.
forest.
The only continent not shown is Antarctica, but they do have a very cold continent that
Mm-hmm.
questionably resembles Antarctica. I don't know.
Greenland, Iceland-esque.
Yeah.
But anyway, they got it all.
So let's talk about. Why don't you explain how the spinner works and how you traverse and everything?
Sure. So, like you said, instead of a dice like in Mario Party to spinner, you have 0 through 6. The 0 spot is actually slightly smaller than all the other
Yeah.
things, but it doesn't really matter. And I will go on record as a fact saying that it's not an equal chance of landing on all those, all the numbers. But I digress. So you start, like I said, at Dokapon Castle, and then you kind of just at the beginning of every roll, or at the beginning of every turn, you roll the spinner, and then it tells you how many spaces you can go. And then there are these things, I don't even want to talk about them now, but that expand how far you can go, what you can do. Kind of expand your options where you can go.
And so the way you traverse is kind of at your own will. You get to go wherever you want, whenever you want, except you start on one continent. Well, truthfully, you start on like this little like training area, like a little prologue to get your bearings. But after that, you go to like the very first continent, and there's 8 chapters in the game, and the plot is incredibly light. It'll ask you to do some stuff, and that's when you're able to, like, after you've completed the chapter, you are able to expand in and start roaming other continents, like the second continent, and so
Mm-hmm.
forth. And you're able to, like in Mario Party, you're able to only move in one direction, unless there's a fork in the road, then you can choose your path. This game's not like that. It's like, okay, here's this open world. You can literally travel to any space you want as long as there's no, like, as long as you've unlocked this continent. Um, and so, what I found in this game is that it is so incredibly easy to get distracted from like your main objective, whatever that
Mm-hmm.
is, whether it's like working on the plot or, oh, I'm trying to go to this store because I need to heal or I need to get some items. And then just like every week we'll talk about it, there's random events. Not every week, but a lot of weeks that you'll just get the whole game, the whole map gets struck by a random event, and it's like, oh crap, now I need to watch out for these bad guys that are going to be here. And then you get distracted, and it's like you can't remember what you were doing, and you tried for 10 turns to try to get to one freaking town or one freaking store, but
Yeah.
you can't roll the space you need. It's crazy. I wouldn't say it's a negative in the game. That's just how the game works.
Mm-hmm.
It's like if you want to spin a 2, you're going to spin everything but a 2. That's just how the game is.
Right. Yeah. Like I said, definitely
Somehow
not
it
even.
knows. Yeah, so the zero, it's only slightly smaller on the spinner, but like I think we saw it like 3 times in 30 hours of playing.
And I got 2 of them. Crazy. But yeah, it's very much
um,
like in typical RPG fashion. It's like everyone has their own side quests that they're doing. It's like, oh, I want to go get this weapon, or oh, I'm in debt, so I need to go get money and do this and do that. So it kind of drags out the gameplay a lot.
so what kind of spaces can you land on? There are yellow battle spaces. I think they just call those like normal spaces or blank spaces or something. These are the most prominent in the game on the map. You have a chance of a lot of things happening, but probably more than half of the time you're gonna battle a random enemy, a random demon in the world. And so this game, if you're gonna make the analogy that it's like Mario Party, I guess this would be the equivalent of like a mini game. There are no mini games at the end of each round, and so you can land on a yellow space and you can fight someone. And because this game is an RPG, you will gain experience and other stuff that we'll talk about in a minute. Um, and if it's not an enemy that pops up on a yellow space, you will encounter some kind of event. Um, I think that's it, right? Those are the 2 things that could happen.
Mm-hmm.
But the events are plentiful. We have field magic roulette spots. So this is one of like a few different there's a few different roulette spots. Let me just quickly list them here. There's field magic. We'll talk about it. Item roulette. There is the like there's those two, there's the main ones, and then you have like the special ones that like if you see them you're like, "Oh, I'm absolutely going there."
Mm-hmm.
Um there's like a white loot space. There's like this white treasure chest that will give you some piece of equipment that is probably going to be better than what you have. There's weapon roulettes that is like that was rare as heck to find. You don't just find, weapons
No.
in this game cost a fortune.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing for shield loot. There was, I think that's it. Gold chest. So you can spin a spinner and it'll just give you money for free. And then on the opposite side of the spectrum, there is the red chest, which will most likely take something away from you, kind of like a Bowser space.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to talk about the rest of the spaces? We got quite a few on here.
Yeah, so we got the bank spots, which is it's super inconvenient, but also I guess why they did it is once you get these towns, you can invest in your towns, but you can also collect taxes from your towns. And if you land on one of these spots, you can do either or, and you can only do it once. So you have to, if you have 6 towns and you want to collect and invest, you have to go around 12 times and land on that spot. So
Yeah,
definitely stop there when you can. But there's about one in every continent, 1 or 2, maybe 3. They're not
three
super
seems like a
plentiful.
lot, but yeah.
I think it's 2. They're not super plentiful, but always land there when you can. In the same vein, there's also the gold collection bank spots, which I only remember seeing 2. One was in like the actual continent, and I think one was in a cave. But if you land there, it collects all of your taxes from all of your towns all at once. It just automatically does it.
We'll explain
Then
taxes
there's
momentarily.
yeah. Then there's poisonous swamp spots where literally you just land there and you get poisoned because you're in a poisoned swamp. And being poisoned is not super nice. It sticks with you for a while until you get healed, unfortunately. Then there's stores, castles, and town spots. Those are pretty self-explanatory. It's a store, you go to the store. That takes your turn. You go to a castle, you can sleep, blah, 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 blah. Town spots, if it's your town, you can invest and collect, or you can also stay the night. You talked about item roulette spots already. You just land there and you can get an item. They're usually not that great, but the further you get into the game, the better they get. Dungeon entrance spaces, this is the only space you can get to get into a dungeon. And then I guess along the same vein, which you didn't write down, is when you're in a dungeon, there's also the different floors of the dungeon. So it'll be like, I don't know, like floor 2, floor 3, floor 1. Those are also the same thing. Trap spots. We didn't ever land there because we were too scared, but it sets you off in a trap of whatever, probably not good, or a trap doesn't go off at all and you fight a monster. So it's like, you don't really want to land there, and we never did.
So I think before we get into the next few sections, I think we should probably get to assets. I think that it will make a lot more sense to someone who's never played the game. So I'm going to explain, or we're going to explain the assets, since this is part of like the main objective. How do you get money? How do you get assets, which are in turn going to help you win? So there's three types of assets. The biggest one, I guess, is like towns and castles. You acquire a town in this game by defeating the monster that is currently like guarding or attacking that town. So throughout the game, there's like 50 towns across the 7 continents, and you and the other players want to like think about Monopoly. You want to acquire as many as you can
Mm-hmm.
because they have value in them, and their value will just increase as you invest in them throughout the entire game. And much like Monopoly, you start out with some weak towns, and by the end of the game, they're worth millions of, like, the later towns you can acquire are worth millions of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you get a castle in this game by completing a chapter. Why do you want a castle? Well, these are worth a ton of money. You almost, it's almost impossible to lose them. I said almost, we'll explain later. Um, Investing in castles is different. This actually works towards another type of asset that I'll talk about in a second. Um, Monsters can be summoned to towns randomly, so it is possible to lose a town way easier than it is to lose a castle.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you might just wake up on a Tuesday morning in the game and like you just find out, oh great, there's a freaking monster at my village. I guess I don't own the
Yep.
village anymore.
Yep.
Um, and so at that stage, you have the ability to go back to your town and fight that monster, or what happens more often than not is some stupid CPU or Hannah is going to come over and take your town back before you
Hey.
can. um, Players can lose a town and the town won't have an owner. Oh yeah, so there's also the chance that I don't know what causes this off the top of my head, but you could like a town could just not have an owner all of a sudden. What causes that? Do you remember?
You can like lose. I think you can if you lose to like Rico Jr. or something, or like if you lose really horribly badly, it can be taken away from you. Or if you die, sometimes it can be taken away from you.
Okay.
It really depends.
Some things happen in the game and you can just like lose the town without a monster showing up. And so the next person that just like like strolls on down to that town doesn't even have to fight a monster. They just like walk up, talk to the mayor, and they're like, "All right, yeah, I'll take this place off your hands."
Yep. Easy
Um,
peasy.
and then there's also like a charm potion you can acquire from the item shops or from certain roulette places, and you can use those to persuade the town mayor to give you someone else's town, which is a really cool and valuable item. You don't see it a whole lot.
No, it's rare and it's usually more towards the end of the game. And also, persuade is a pretty nice word because basically you're just chloroforming the mayor until he
It's a
forgets who
freaking
actually owns it,
roofie.
and then you take it.
Do you want to talk about the other two assets?
Yeah. So the other one in is on hand cash, which is like your wallet. It's the cash that you can freely spend in stores, or I don't know, weapon stores and all that kind of stuff. So these assets are fluid. So like you're constantly spending, losing, unfortunately getting this kind of cash. So ways to make on-hand money is beating enemies. You get like not that much. It's like even in the later game, it's only like 3,000 or 4,000 every time you beat an enemy. Unless it's like a boss or like a big enemy, then you get like hundreds of thousands. Selling items, which again is not super lucrative, but it's good if you're in debt. Collecting taxes, which I say is probably the best way to make money. And then there's also just like a freaking plethora of random events and encounters, like nothing that you can control and or predict. It'll just freaking happen, and then you'll get either a bunch of money or they'll take it away, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And then the other thing, which I guess they made more prominent in the remaster, or remake, whatever it is local items that you gift to the king. I wouldn't say that this was particularly valuable or lucrative at all, because we didn't really use it. But anyway, as you level up a town to a certain level, each town has its own like local item that you get gifted, and that's like the only place you can get it. You can gift it to the king or you can sell it at the store. If you gift it to the king, if he likes it, if you gift it to him, I guess there's some sort of intrinsic value that he puts on it, but it's not ever like explicitly said, like, oh, the king loved the item you sent him. Here's $3 million. It's nothing like that at all. It's
Yeah.
basically like a weird hidden stat that you have to, like, go look for. You have to, like, really want to search for it. And then another way to use local items to send it to the king. If he doesn't like it, send it in someone else's name instead of your name. But again, I don't know if if it just takes money away from them. That was never
Right.
really explained. I'm not sure.
And so the what was I about to say? The one of the very few changes that they made, like we looked up differences between like PS2, Wii, and this game. This is where one of the very few changes comes into play. In the originals, you could not even see the value of this third asset.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of the game, you'd just be like, oh, okay, I guess I got $1 million for sending, a few diamonds to the king throughout my 30 hours. In this game, you can actually see that stat. So that was a little improvement.
And another thing that wasn't explicitly said is if the king actually likes the item before you send it. Like, I sent him a black diamond, on accident, because I thought, of course, it's better than a diamond, it's a black diamond. And then the guy who took it was like, I'll send it to him, but I don't know if he'll like it. But after I'd already sent it, it's like, well, shoot. I didn't know that.
Yeah. I don't think I explained castles really well. I said you can get it by completing a chapter. So there's like only one person per continent will acquire a castle, and so that means like you defeated or you completed the task that was required for chapter 1 or chapter 6 or whatever. You'll be rewarded by the king himself, one of these 7 castles in the game. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Yep.
Let's talk about RPG elements. This is full-on RPG. You gain experience through battles, whether it's a battle against a freaking random enemy or... You do gain experience for battling other players, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
You level up, and it's pretty frequent. Like, you never are just sitting on a level miserable for a long time. I think they did a good job of balancing that.
Yeah.
You can choose every time you level up, much like Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga and probably every other RPG, but I'm not a big RPG guy, so I don't have the experience. But basically, you get a bonus couple of points to apply to a specific stat after you level up. And so your stats are attack, defense, magic, speed, and HP. Pretty basic stuff. There are... In this game, the speed is going to... tell me if this is normal for RPGs, but in this game specifically, if you have low speed, you're going to miss a lot.
In this game, it's definitely really relevant, but honest to God, I have never leveled up speed in any RPG, and I've never, inherently missed more, I don't think. But, I don't know, I could be wrong. Speed is not something I ever look at. It's attack and defense.
Yeah, it's more like accuracy or evade, or both. Speed is really not a good description for this, because you never... Even when you go into battle, it's just it's a random card drawn of who goes first. It's never like, oh, I have more speed, I'm gonna go first. So
yeah,
think when we talk about speed in this podcast, think of accuracy and evasion. There's 12 jobs. We're not going to go through each and every one of them, but each one comes with their own perks and different salaries. Salaries are paid on a weekly basis. Dokapon Kingdom out here with that weekly pay. So to change a job, we didn't really personally, between the two of us, we probably changed jobs 3-4 times total.
Yeah.
And it never felt like, oh, I'm going to go do this one thing and that's how I'll be able to change jobs. No, it's like you play long enough, maybe you walk enough steps or you gain enough experience with your current job, and you'll randomly just level up your mastery of the job that you currently have. And then once you've leveled it up to max, randomly, you can go back to Dokapon Castle on the first continent of the game, and you talk to the king, and he'll let you choose another job.
Yep.
some jobs do require other criteria where it feels less random. But we actually didn't do any of those. And you said there's actually more jobs in this game than in the original, right? That's another addition.
Yeah, I think that was just all the remastered. I don't know, it was just the Switch version. I think it was on Steam too.
Right. Um. So what job were you the whole most of the game, or you can tell me all of them if you remember?
Yeah, I do. So I started off as a warrior, and then once I maxed out the warrior, a new job was available called the alchemist, and then I did the alchemist, and then once I mastered that one, I became a monk, and then I stuck with the monk for the rest of the time.
I do not remember you being a alchemist.
I was an alchemist, and then I don't know why I got rid of it because being an alchemist is freaking OP. But then I became a monk. But a perk of being a monk was I had more item space, which was really super handy in the end game.
Yeah, there's not a big bag in this game. I mean, it's big enough, but having that extra space was super nice.
Mm-hmm.
I started as a warrior, I'm pretty sure. Probably did
Yep.
something else after that. And then what I stayed on for like more than half the game was what is it called?
Alchemist.
No.
Oh, a cleric.
I was a cleric more than half the game, and I would just like randomly get healed, which was so sick. That job saved me from dying so many times in this game.
Mm-hmm.
I would just be like, okay, well, I hope a miracle happens, because if not, I'm gonna lose this battle. And then, sure enough, my turn comes, and it's like, here's 700 health points. So that was just like always awesome.
Wait, I was never an alchemist. CPU, the black-haired one, was an alchemist where she could duplicate things. I was a cleric. I don't know. I'm saying
Okay.
alchemist.
Oh yeah, you
Yeah.
definitely were a cleric at one point.
Yeah. Alchemist though, that
Um,
was awesome.
Talk to me about the battle system.
So very much like you said, in typical RPG fashion, it's turn-based, but it's only split up into one turn at a time. So like one player goes, then the enemy goes, and then that's it. That's your turn. But at the end, you gain experience. There's ability attacks which can be changed, and we didn't know if this was like on a random basis or like you gain so much XP, then maybe you get it. It was frequent enough, but it wasn't every time you leveled up. So like I don't know what the criteria for that was.
Yeah.
Some of them were crappy. We kept heal the entire time, which is basically on your turn, instead of attacking, you can heal completely full, no cooldown time, which was so nice. I couldn't imagine how hard it would have been if there was a cooldown time for all of these.
There
Just
should have
sucked.
been. It was almost too easy, this game, just being able to heal constantly.
Yeah. I don't know if I would say it was easy. I feel like had we not had that, it'd been really, really hard. Because that
Yeah.
saved my ass so many times. But anyway, like I said, typical turn base, offense and defense. You said earlier that you start off by doing cards. You pick a card, and if it's either first or last. If it's first, you go offense first. If it's second, then obviously you do defense. Um, yeah, so there's offensive and defensive moves, offense and defensive magic, give up, which we didn't do until later in the game, strike and counter, which you will explain in a second, and then ability slot, which you can purchase from item stores or weapon or magic stores.
Yeah, so our ability slot was heal. Never changed it, and if we did, we immediately went back to heal. um, but yeah, it just felt so random, and every time that we would try something else, it was just like, well, why would I even want to do that? Like, I could heal myself. Like, I'm invincible practically.
Yeah, a
Invincible
lot of
is
the ability
dramatic.
slots were like charge attacks or like charge your magic, or it's like those. It's just like the attacks that you always see in Pokemon. Where like, no, I don't want my Pokemon to do that. Stupid.
Yeah. So yeah, so you have like four options. Hannah just mentioned them briefly, but like if you're on offense, you have your attack, which is just your weapon. You have your magic attack, and then you have give up, or give up might be defense. So you have your ability. You either have give up or ability, and then defense has the other one. And then the third and like most dangerous one is strike. And the opposite of this, if you're on defense, is counter. And I've never seen this, but you will if you strike someone, your attack is like insane. Like you're pretty much guaranteeing a win for yourself if you do this. But you take a massive risk that whoever you're fighting is not going to counter, because if they counter, you're automatically dead. Like it's like double what strike is, and strike is incredibly powerful. Um, Funny enough, the game, if you fought an enemy before, you can actually use the R button for a prediction,
Mm-hmm.
and it'll be like, hey, if I do attack and the enemy does defense, what's gonna happen? And they give you one of like four, I don't know what to call it, smiley faces,
Smiley
emojis.
faces. Uh-huh.
And it'll be like, oh, okay, if it's a green smiley, I'll survive.
Mm-hmm.
Or the enemy will survive or whatever. And then there's like one that's like orange. It's like, okay, it's gonna hurt, but I'll live. There's like a red and a yellow. And then there's like this white ghost looking one. It looks like Shy
Shy
Guy.
guy. Uh-huh.
And you're like, I mean, I still don't fully know what the heck that meant 40 hours later, 30 hours later.
Nope.
Um, but it's like, I don't know. It's either like you're dead, you're cooked, there's nothing you can do about it, or I don't
You'll
know.
live.
It was tough.
Yeah, I still don't know the difference between red. You seem red seems bad, right? And then there's one after that, which is white, and white is like for sure death. I feel like they could have done like a crossbones or like a skull or like something, because it's really dubious at best.
So that's what a typical battle's like. You take one turn, like Hannah said, and that's your Monday. And then if the battle's not over yet, it goes into Tuesday, and it can last infinitely until somebody dies or gives up. And so we'll talk about the effects of giving up in a minute, but quickly mention field magic. These are super helpful, but we didn't use them a whole lot. Field magic is exactly what it sounds like. You can use magic on the overworld, and so it could be anything from like a status effect that you are planting on another player, or you can put it on a monster on the field. Um, and so you can poison someone. You could make them have a foot sore, which would just make the player like only roll one every time. They can only
Yep.
move one space. And there's also like stats that can be affected. You can lower someone's magic. You can increase your own attack. There's all kinds of field magic
Mm-hmm.
in this game that we probably should have used more often, especially in the early game.
Yeah, so this is in one of those instances where speed is really helpful. So, like, if you have a really high speed, the effects of the
Mm,
field magic will actually not affect you as much. Like, when you do it, it gives you a percentage. And if you have a high speed, that percentage is going to be low of it working on you.
yeah, good call. Um, I don't know why I wrote this here, but status effects. So I just wanted to quickly mention whether it's from field magic or from an enemy on the map that you're fighting, or a plethora of other stupid things. You can become frozen. You can be poisoned, footsore. You can get cursed. That's
Mm-hmm.
something that'll just like make you randomly attack yourself, similar to confusion in Pokemon.
Yep. Yep.
Increase or decrease your stats temporarily. There's all kinds of stuff. I'm just gonna put etc. on that one.
Yeah, and they also affect you infinitely until you can go to like a temple or something. So like you will get poisoned 71 HP points every turn, the beginning of every turn until you heal.
Yeah, then, like some things wear off, like footsore, but for the most part, um, yeah, we haven't even talked about temples. I don't even think we wrote them anywhere in the notes, but temples are a place on the map where you can heal yourself from, not from HP related stuff, but from
Mm-hmm.
curse or poison or anything
Yep.
that's afflicting you.
Right.
Um, and so, yeah, you can get healed of that. You can also send gifts to the king there. Now that I'm
Yep.
saying this, I think there might be a note for it later, but that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, if you lose in battle, you will return to the last castle or temple that you were at.
Yeah, which is
But
really
let's talk about
inconvenient
death.
when you're in the end game and then you die and you have to go all the way back.
Yeah. You want to talk about death?
Death. So just expect to die a lot in this game, especially in the beginning. Death sucks. It's awful, but there are ways to get out of it. So, for whatever reason, we haven't determined why this is, but if the Grim Reaper comes and claims your dead body after a battle, you're dead for 3 turns, you're in a coffin, night-night, lights out. But sometimes an angel come and gets you, and you're only dead for 1 turn. And I don't know why. And then also, randomly, an angel can come and be like, hey, pay me a whole lot of money, and I'll revive you right now. And then you get to take your turn. No idea why that comes up. Maybe if you were just a good Samaritan or something, I don't know.
Maybe.
No clue. Like we said, when you die, you get sent back to the last temple or castle you were at, which, like I said, is really inconvenient. If you're in the end game and the last place you visited was Dokapon Castle, you have to go all the way back to Dokapon Castle, and it is not close. Like, I think there's one, like, warp spot where you can warp to any castle, but it is not super easy to get to either.
Because, yeah, there's probably... I'm not going to even try to estimate. There's a few hundred spots in the 7 continents, and there are these winding maze-like paths, and you are all the way back on continent 1, but you need to get to continent 5, and it's like you're going to roll, the max you can roll is a 6. Most of the time you're rolling a freaking 2. It's just going to take
right.
forever to get back.
Mm-hmm. It is not fun at all. And then there's also timeouts, which happen when you give up. So your player just kind of your little character sits there and waves a white flag, which is not horrible because you can't be attacked with field magic or by CPU on this timeout. You're just kind of like there. You can't move or anything, but nobody can hurt you. You're just there. And then things you can lose from dying and or giving up is towns, unfortunate, magic items, regular items, money. You're usually going to lose a lot of money. And then you can fight CPUs, which I would not in the very beginning because they are super powerful. I would not unless you think you're going to win. If you lose, they can prank you, steal from you, forgive you, which never happens, or, quote, give you something. If they steal, they can take your money when it's usually a lot. I think it's a specific percentage. It's like a half or something stupid. Equipment, which is like your weapons or whatever accessory you have on. Or your items, which is like spinners or potions or whatever they decide. And then we never got to use this feature. We didn't even know what it was until after when we looked it up. The give feature, they can force their debt onto you, which you probably will go into debt. They can force their cursed items on you, and they can enforce status effects on you too. But we never got to use that one.
Yeah, we never... I mean, it's kind of rare to... Well, honestly, we avoided the CPUs like the plague because we were always scared of them. It was like, even when we're like the same rank, the same level, is like, yeah, they're probably going to beat us, or there just wasn't a big advantage to killing them. I mean, there might have been. We could have had some good equipment earlier in the game. But we did not know what the heck we were doing for a good 10 to 15 hours of this game.
I mean, you could put me in there now and I'd still be like, I don't really know.
So the way this game works is like you're just thrown in. Well, you know what? I played like 30 minutes. I told you guys already. There is some tutorial when you play offline. And maybe it's just single player. I doubt it. It's probably just offline in general. But like we didn't get any type of tips on the online. And so we're constantly looking at 15-year-old forum posts and the Dokapon Wikipedia. It's like we had to look up a lot of stuff. There's obviously no manual in our package, but we did find out that at the last night after beating it that there was a help section of the game that had quite a bit of good info that we could have used.
It was there the whole time, right in front of our faces. We just never saw it.
But yeah, we didn't fight the CPUs a whole lot. Spent a lot of time being afraid of them. Let's talk about those lovely stores and the items that you can get from them. In general, all the stores have like they're all specific to one type of product. You have your general store, you have your magic store, and then there's an equipment store, or they call it the weapon store. You can sell all 3 of these types of items at any of them, which is always cool. You know, you can sell your weapon at the item store and get, well, I don't know if you get paid the same amount, but you probably do.
I think it is.
Um, each continent has one of each store. Most dungeons, which we haven't even talked about yet, have one of each store. And the funny thing is that you can actually rob any person in this game, any freaking store. Um, it's it's such a funny and fun little thing that they threw in there. Um, you did it. I think I did it one time.
Yeah.
It was early in the game, but basically, when you rob someone, you play rock paper scissors, and you're literally rock paper scissoring the townskeeper or the storekeeper, and if you win, I don't know, you probably just get money. I think.
I think you can get money or items. I think you get to choose, but it's like so limited amount. It's like one, two, or three.
And the benefits do not really outweigh the possible like the risk, because if you get put on or if you lose, they put you on like a wanted list.
Yeah.
And then the
Uh-huh.
other three players will earn like a huge amount of money if they take you down during this like week long wanted period. So it's crazy.
Yeah. So I looked it up just because I was curious, and we haven't mentioned this yet, but like a lot of the amounts that you get charged, or like the amount of stuff you collected, it's all like it's all like an equation. Like they all came up with these. It's not random at all. It's a really intricately defined equation. So I looked it up just because I was curious. The bounty is equal to 10,000 G's times the current week. So if you rob someone in the first week, it is way, way, way less of a bounty than if you rob someone in the freaking 50th week or the 100th week.
That's huge. I mean, that could be a ton of money.
Mm-hmm. So I'm so glad when we robbed people. Well, when we were playing it, we honestly had nothing to lose. So I was like, yeah, why not? I want to see what the rob function does. And of course, I failed. Because I don't think it's definitely not a 33.333% chance of, winning, of picking the right one. It's definitely stacked in not in your favor. So I became a wanted woman, but I just ran away from everybody for a whole
Yeah.
week.
And so the other thing to mention about all the stores is that they are all closed on Sundays. And so,
Yep.
to quickly go through these stores and the types of items they have, your general item store has healing items, your potions, elixirs. You can get spinners and crystals. So, I've been talking about how you can only spin a six. This game has, like, you can buy two, three, four, and five spinners, and also super spinners that are exactly what they sound like. You get, like in Mario Party, multiple dice blocks. It's the same thing. You get,
Mm-hmm.
like, up to five different spinners to spin all at once for a maximum total of 30 spaces you could get. And then there's the super spinner, which is like, oh, you're gonna have multiple spinners somewhere random between 2 and 5 for like X amount of turns. You don't even know how many turns, but that's usually a pretty solid item.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there are locked treasure chest spaces on the map, and you can buy a key for them at the item store. Um, there's also field warps you can buy, town warps, exactly what they sound like, and then stat boost magic, right? Yeah, it's not
Mm-hmm.
magic, but it's like a drink you can take. Um, so those exist. There's the magic store, which you can just buy offensive field magic, or you can change your battle magic, your offensive and defensive battle magic here. Those are usually pretty expensive.
Yeah, they are, and they're not super explicit on like how they work. It'll give you a vague
Yeah.
description, but it's not always like, yeah, this will work 100% of the time. Oh, this works like 10% of the time. You don't know.
Yeah,
You're just kind of
explain the
gambling.
one that you had to deal with. The Refresh
So
DX or
mine,
whatever.
yeah. So it was called Refresh DX, and it said that you will block some damage from the opponent's magic attack, but it also will heal you, like completely heal you. But
And that's
like
all it said.
that's it. I didn't know what percentage. I don't know if it was all the time. And then I don't even know if it helped block, but then it would heal me also. And I don't know. I'm really unsure because none of the enemies' attacks are like always the same. So like it would hit me 300 sometimes and like 600 sometimes, but that was just the range that it would hit you anyway. So I still don't know if it worked or not.
Right.
No idea.
There was a lot of behind the scenes code going on in this game. A lot where you're just like, okay, I mean, I guess this game is just going to do me like that. I mean, you
Yep.
never really knew if it was supposed to be that way, or like, did my magic actually block that, or what. Is a lot of anonymity in the game.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so Hannah bought this magic thinking, oh, I'm going to be healed every time someone hits me with magic and I use this. And
Nope.
no, definitely not the case. It ended up being pretty helpful, but it was not what was expected.
No. And I don't even know if it would have saved me more than the regular just blocking magic,
True.
whatever it is, guard or something. I have no idea. I paid like 300 grand for it, so you think it would, but again, no idea.
Yeah, and just to like give you guys some context, some relativity, like by chapters 6, 7, 8, the last few chapters of the game, you're dealing with like millions of dollars in your on-hand assets. Like
Mm-hmm.
you have a lot of freaking money all the time. Um Unless you're just doing really bad.
Which happens.
It definitely happens. Um the magic store we talked about, the weapon store is exactly what it sounds like. The options of weapons and shields, they get better as you progress through the game.
Mm-hmm.
Typical RPG stuff. Weapons and equipment, let's talk about that a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
um so you can equip three things. It's a weapon, a shield, and then what we're calling an accessory, because it could be a ring, it could be a scarf, it could be a bandana. It sounds like an accessory. It
Gloves.
wasn't always like
Yep.
straightforward. This item is going to be better than this because it costs more. Um, which, just a regular RPG thing. You sometimes have trade-offs. You might increase your magic with one accessory, and you might be trying to get your magic to go up, but this accessory is also going to lower your defense, and so you have to choose what you want. Um,
Yeah.
and then this is
And then
oh, go ahead.
it gave you like it showed you like which stats were going to be affected if you bought it, but if you were to see an equipment item like in a chest and you had to pick like which one, it didn't give you the stats. Like a skeleton key, you mentioned having a key in a lockbox, it would just do the roulette, but with a skeleton key you could actually pick which item you wanted, but it what didn't give you a description of what it was, and it didn't tell you if it was better than your current equipment or worse. It just was like, yep, this is it. So we often had to look it up.
Okay. For sure. And then the other thing I was gonna say is that this got really bad for us. You can lose equipment, and the game never warned us or anything. Game didn't warn us of
Nope.
anything. Um, but you can fight certain types of enemies. They'll use their ability on you, which is like some kind of, you know, fire from hell attack, and it's like,
Heck
okay, there
fire.
goes my shield. And you're like, holy
Yep.
crap, I just spent 300, 500 grand on that shield. It's gone out of thin air. And
Yep.
at first we were like, oh, okay, maybe it's just certain weapons. And then we're like, oh, maybe it's just certain abilities. And you're like, oh, is it like Breath of the Wild? Does your weapon just like have a health meter, But no, it's just like you're gonna get attacked by this bird, and it's probably gonna hit you with its special ability, and you can't do anything to defend
Yep.
it. You're just gonna lose your shield, and then your sword, and then your accessory, and then you're screwed.
Yep. 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 And it seemed random at first, but then we realized it must be magic attacks, and it doesn't choose. Like it can choose your weapon one, or it can choose your weapon one time, or it could choose your shield, or it could choose your accessory. And if and if you don't have a sword, it's gonna get your shield, and if you don't have a sword and a shield, it's gonna take your accessory. It's
And this
awful.
actually
And that
happened
happened
to you, I think.
many times. So the first time it happened, and I was like, oh, okay, that was kind of weird. And it was like not early on, but kind of like mid game, and then towards the end, it was just happening left and right with these certain enemies in this one continent. I'm like, I'm getting out of here. This is hell. I lost my weapon like 3 or 4 times. It's awful.
And it was this one
Sucked.
enemy called the Rock, or it was a Phoenix, is what it was.
Mm-hmm.
But we joked
Bird.
about it because we haven't talked about it yet, but the enemies in this game are just different colored models of each other. Like, there's probably maybe 30 different models of enemies, but
Mm-hmm.
they'll call them different things. So, like, you'll have the rock, the ROC rock, which I don't even know what that means, but it's something related to birds. Um,
Bird.
and then you'll have this one enemy that we've been dealing with, or that we're like talking about, that kept destroying our equipment. It was the Phoenix, which was just the rock but red,
Red.
and it would have like some kind of flame from hell, and it would just be like, there goes my sword, I hate this game.
And unavoidable. And if there was a way to avoid it, we didn't know it.
Yeah, there
Still don't know
totally
it.
could be. um yeah, like, we played 30 hours and there's still so much to learn. We had a blast and we would totally play it again, but it's like there's so much that I could learn on a second or third playthrough of this game. It's very deep.
I agree, yeah. Like I said, barely scratch the surface.
Tell us about random events.
Okay, so we went into this game blind, not knowing exactly what the heck is going to happen. And so I think you said like every week or something, some random event would happen. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, sometimes it's like, where the frick did this even come from? Um, so randomly, stores and towns would go on strike, and that means they're closed for an entire week. And it'll give you at the beginning of the week, I guess on Sunday, it'd be like the town will, or the king will put out an announcement saying, "Ah, all the towns are closed. They're on strike." Rah. So you can't go to any stores, no weapon stores, no item stores, nothing. And then randomly, a couple weeks, there's rabid chimps that are on the loose, and they're really low. I think they're level 1. They're really low level, so you're like, oh, this is super easy. But they give you the plague, and the plague will kill you. I don't know if it's immediately or if it's like a couple turns down the road, but dead. And there's no cure.
Right.
And once you get the plague, you're definitely gonna die. Also, there are random sales in stores. Sometimes it was like 20%, sometimes it was 25%. During the late game, it was 40%, which was super nice. And then I think the Wabbits was like a continuous event, but the king was like, if you bring me a Wabbit, I'll give you something awesome. But we never did. I didn't even encounter a Wabbit.
Yeah, I don't know if I ever fought one either. Maybe once.
And then twice throughout the game, Mr. Green or Green Jr. or whatever the heck his name is, he
Yeah.
would invite all the players to the Coliseum, which is in like the first little continent area, and the players must fight each other. So I think the first time we went, we were so under leveled compared to the CPUs, we just got creamed. There was like no chance.
Yeah.
But then at the end, you had to fight the champion, Camacho, I think his name was, but he was like
Yep.
easily 10, 20 levels above everybody. So like there was no hope of winning, and I don't even know why they had that. Because you don't win anything, you don't lose anything. You're just there.
It was weird, and it only happened twice in the 134 weeks that we played of this game.
Yeah.
So,
I don't, maybe
weird.
if you beat him, you get something awesome, but like, you would have to be freaking 20 levels ahead of that dude to beat him, because he was like one hit, night, night, lights out.
Yeah.
And then randomly, I don't know why, but a thief would come and play Robin Hood and give a whole bunch of money from all the players to the lowest player, or the player who was in last place. That happened a couple times. I know it happened for me when I was in debt. I was like, oh, yes, beautiful. And then once throughout the game, it's called Dokapon cards, and you literally, it was like a matching game. All the players looked at the same board, the same grid, and they had to match cards. The people who matched the most cards, which were obviously the CPUs, got money and items and all sorts of stuff. That was really random and only happened once. Then there was
And
also
once again,
an epidemic.
literally once in 130 plus weeks.
Uh-huh.
It was just crazy. Like, what triggered it?
I don't know what triggered it, or if it was just like it always happens during the end of the game. No idea. That was weird. Happened once. Then the epidemic happened a few times throughout the game. Probably like 6 or 7 times. It wasn't really that big of a deal. Just money was taken from you. The citizens in your town are sick, and obviously you have to heal them, so you have to pay to heal them. So the more towns you own in the certain continent, wherever the epidemic was, the more you have to pay. Also an abnormous disaster. That also happened probably 6 or 7 times. All taxes in towns and castles go bye-bye, and you have to pay to fix up every town on a continent. So again, if you have more towns on that continent, you have to pay more.
Yeah.
So, yeah. super, super random things. And that's not even all of it. There's also random encounters, which we'll get to in a second. But
Yeah, I feel like we could have played the game a second time and gotten more random events that we never experienced in the first 130 weeks.
probably. Definitely.
Because why? Just it's crazy how few some of them occurred, how infrequently. But yeah.
And for no reason.
All right, let's talk about these sweet, sweet random encounters. I'll take half of them. You can knock out the other half.
You got it.
There's a lot. So randomly, you'll be chilling, and a poor homeless beggar is just like, "Hey, man, can you give me a bunch of money?" And
Mm-hmm.
it's like no context. You're just like, "Am I gonna help the poor?" Like, you don't even know if anything's gonna come out of it, and you either say yes or no, and he just disappears. And it's like a quarter of your funds. We found out. Um, and
Yep.
hours into the game, we were finally like, okay, we've given this guy enough money, and something finally happens, probably to a CPU, not even to us. And it's like
Right.
the dude turns into a goddess and gives you an item, and it's like, oh, so there is a reason to give to the poor in this game.
Right.
um, so that's that whole thing. Most of the time, the item was not worth like the hundreds of thousands of dollars that you would have to spend.
No.
Um, but you started saying no all the time. And what finally happened at the end? I forgot.
I don't know. I think I can't remember, but I don't think it was anything too bad. But it was still like, God, really?
It was like something bad was supposed to happen, but it ended up not happening to you. I don't remember why.
Oh, she took some of my items, I think, but it wasn't any of the items that I like really needed. I think. I'm pretty sure that's what happened.
Interesting.
But yeah,
Yeah,
she
that
got
might have
pissed
been
and she was like, "Damn it."
it. And then there's Dr. Exiles. This guy just pops up randomly, literally so randomly, but you have to, I guess I should mention, these all occur. These are all possibilities of
Mm-hmm.
occurring when you land on a yellow space.
Yep.
So when you're not battling a random enemy, you're getting one of these random encounters.
Yeah.
And so Dr. Exiles is like this Frankenstein looking dude, and he's like, okay, if you're sick, I'll heal you. If you're low on health points, I'll heal that too. And if nothing's wrong with you, I'm still going to take money. So, like, you lose a ton of money from this guy, and there's nothing you can do about it, whether
Nope.
you're sick or not.
You don't get a choice. He's like, "I'm taking that money."
And then there's this guy, Guts, the blacksmith. I forgot about him. So, this one's kind of nice, but basically, this guy comes and he's like, all right, please give me a bunch of money and I'll take your weapon and I'll go try to make you like something better than that. And so I guess he doesn't take your weapon, but he takes your money if you allow him to. This one's optional, and it's like, okay, it's going to cost me a lot. I might be able to get you a new weapon. And then he leaves and he comes back and he's like, all right, here's your new weapon. And that's
Mm-hmm.
usually a really strong weapon, stronger than what you had. Or he comes back and he's like, hey, sorry, I didn't get you nothing. And it's like, what the heck, dude? What the heck,
Yeah.
Guts?
Mm-hmm.
There's Leanne, the village girl. There's the most innocent soul that ever existed.
So cute.
She'll pop up and just be like, will you please take this piece of hot dog to the town 7 continents away? And you're
Yeah.
like, oh, well, you're just freaking adorable. Of course I'm going to take that piece of hot dog.
The only kind-hearted soul in the whole game.
Yeah, this thing, like, you take it. She's like a fetch quest. Like, you'd go and take some food to some random town, and then you get paid, like, really well for it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, there's never anything negative from Leanne, the village girl.
Nope.
We got Mitch Digger is probably everyone's favorite because this mole pops up and he's like, hey man, give me some money and I'll let you maybe double the value of your town. This one is like, you're always going to give him money because you're always going to try to gamble this.
Mm-hmm.
But you get a spinner and he's like, who knows? God knows where these numbers come from that Mitch gives you. He's like, all right, you roll a 6 and we'll let you double the value of your town. And then there's other times where it's like, roll literally anything except for a 0 and we'll let you double the town value. And
Yep.
what he's doing is digging for a well, and he's like equipped with a honestly like a jackhammer, which doesn't make much sense for digging well, but whatever.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, most of the time it's unsuccessful, but very rarely, maybe 20% of the time, you get that double of the town, and it's a big win. It feels great.
Glorious. So glorious.
You're never upset to see Mitch, but he usually disappoints you. I'll do Risque, the bandit. He is this guy who's like, give me money and I'll go steal money, items, or equipment from another player. You get to choose. Most of the time doesn't work. Most of the time pisses you off. That's just how it goes, but it is optional.
I literally, he shows up a lot, and I
does.
paid for it every single time, and he never once worked for me throughout the entire game. Never once.
Yeah, so we both just kind of stopped paying him towards the end. It was just not worth it.
Not worth it at all.
You can take the rest of these.
So we got Rochambeau with Roche or Rocher. She shows up a lot. Like, I want to say she probably shows up more than everybody else. You play rock, paper, scissors with her. Pretty easy. If you win, usually nothing happens. She's like, oh, darn it, I'll remember this. But sometimes she gives you money, and sometimes she'll pay off your debt. Like, I think I was like $300,000 in debt, and she showed up, and I was like, oh, man, just can you leave me alone? I don't have any money. And I won. Or no, I think I actually might have lost. And she was like, oh, I'm going to take your money. And then she's like, oh, but you don't have any money, so here, I'll just pay off your debt. And it was glorious. Like, debt is so crushing in this game because you can't do anything. But anyway.
I that reminds me about the beggar. If you don't have any money, if you're negative like that, he will actually be like, I was just going to ask for $1, but you're even more broke than me, man. Like, get your stuff together. Yeah. It's actually really funny. And he ends up giving you an item because he feels bad for you.
That is right. Yes. I forgot about that. He's like, man, I just want $1. Just a measly $1. Anyway, if you lose at Rochambeau, she'll take some of your money. And then we never figured this out exactly, but I think all of the money that she takes from all the players is added up, and then the next player that wins gets it. Because I one time got so much money from her, and I don't think I had very much, so I don't know if it was a percentage of mine or if it was all the money that she took from all the players, like landing on the jack spot. What is it? No, the free parking spot in Monopoly.
Like right. That. Yeah, I wasn't sure if that's how it worked or not.
Could be, don't know. Then there's also Cure the Merchant, which is another glorious soul you want to run into. She's a merchant, obviously, so she has a bunch of rare items to sell you, and they're usually not super expensive. If you have a lot of money, it's never a problem, but you can only buy them once. So, like, if she has a charm potion, you can only get it once. If she has a super spinner, you can only buy it once from her. You can't keep adding up. She had lots of cool stuff. I think my favorite, and I don't know if we'll talk about it now or later, but she had fashion magazines. And so
you can talk about it.
With these fashion magazines, it changes your hairstyle, which is one of the only things that you can customize about your character. If you go back to the king at Dokapon Castle on the first continent, you could show the hairstylist this magazine and she'd change it to whatever it was. So the first time I did it, I got a duck. So I had like a giant duck on my head. And then the second time it was the geisha hairstyle. So it was like a cute, like little Japanese kind of hairstyle. And that was fun. But out of all the ones that there were, we only found 2. Or 3, because you found one. You had a shark.
It was really weird because the entire playthrough we kept seeing fashion. They give you a number on the fashion magazine that Kira sells, and it's like fashion mag number 3, fashion mag number 7. We literally thought at the end it was like, okay, I guess there's only 2 fashion magazines, 3 and 7. But no, maybe it's just like per playthrough you're only limited to so many, but we literally only saw 2.
No, that totally could be. I didn't think of that. But then one of the other, this is really the most random thing, and it happened to you first out of everybody. A UFO can literally just come and swoop you up in their freaking spaceship, and it steals your turn, and when you land back down, it puts you down in the same spot, I do believe, and it can either increase all of your stats by 1, or it lowers all of them by 1. And every time it happened to me, it only lowered mine all by 1. It did never raise them, ever.
Yeah.
Sucked. But it was like, of course there's aliens. Of course there are in this game. Why wouldn't there be? Then
it's a wacky
the other
game.
thing, Yeah. The other thing, and he sucks, and he showed up. He might have been the second most popular one to show
Yeah.
up, but it was called Weber the Trickster. Not a good dude. You don't ever want to run into him unless on one very certain occasion. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But he will give you blackmail, nitroglycerin, a big bug, or a contract. So blackmail is something that I was plagued with throughout like the entire game. Didn't matter if I was in first place, last place, way behind, negative debt. Didn't matter. I feel like the CPUs always sent me blackmail all the time. In the beginning, we didn't realize that you could actually send it to somebody else. So what it is, it goes into your inventory, and then you can pay half of your money to send it to another player, which we didn't realize until later. And then if it activates or whatever after a certain amount of turns, you die.
Yeah.
And so we didn't realize that at first until the CPUs were fighting. I think CPU 1 got it and kept sending it back and forth between CPU 1 or CPU 1 and CPU 1 2. Freaking nice. The other thing was nitroglycerin, and that was like in a little vial, and the thing it would do is I don't know if you got hit a certain amount of damage or just got hit at all, it would explode and then put you down at 1 HP. And it can happen in like a boss battle. So it's like always happened at the most inopportune times. It's crazy.
And that's just yet another example of this game being like, is it random or is there a stat that we just can't see? Like, it's just,
Yep.
You never knew.
No idea. The other one is a big bug, which it goes into your item inventory, and then every turn or like every couple turns, it eats one of your items until all your items are gone. So that includes like your potions, your spinners, your whatever, but it also includes your field magic. So it has to eat everything, and then it'll fly away. So usually the big benefit of that is to just go sell everything. It'll fly away, and then you can start buying things again.
Yep.
And then the last thing is contract, which I guess I'll leave for later.
It's the next section.
Okay, so yes, the contract. We'll explain that later. Then there's tax collector Musashi. It's like a not a pelican. What is he? A stork? A tax collector.
Oh, he is
stork?
a stork.
A stork, and he'll collect all of your taxes from your towns, all of them together, all at once. But he'll take a cut. I think in the beginning it was like 25%, 30%, and I think the CPU got it at the very end for like 70%. So there's that. And then Robo Agent Robot Assassin, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's a robot assassin, and you pay a whole bunch of money and you can sick him on one of the other players. And I don't know if it's guaranteed that he'll show up every time you step on a yellow space, but if you have the Robo Assassin after you better get your ass to a store, a castle, a town, an item space, anything but a yellow space, because it will kill you.
Yeah.
And then
you have a chance,
you could also vanish,
or the game makes you,
which we didn't realize.
The game makes you think you have a chance at least for killing the robot assassin, but you pretty much are guaranteed death.
Mm-hmm. And then the other things that we didn't know about is you can also vanish. There's a potion that makes you vanish, and so you're gone for like 2 or 3 turns. So you just go to an item store and buy a bunch of those. But yeah, I think I got the robot assassin on me a bunch, but you also got the option to send it to a lot of people, which was nice. How much did you end up spending for it to never work?
I did. I bought the robot assassin a lot. Honestly, something we haven't mentioned is that you and I played like we were just on a team. Like 99% of the time,
Loosely.
we were like always helping each other out.
Yeah.
Not necessarily helping each other, but we weren't going after each other, which, like, if you're not my enemy, you're my friend type of thing.
Right. The enemy of my
and so
enemy.
it was like
Wait,
us.
No. What is it? The enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Yeah. So we were both kind of in this, like, neutral boat where we would, anytime I hired a robot assassin, it's like, oh, yeah, we freaking hate that guy. Like, let's go take him out.
Agreed.
And we did that for everything. But, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I never once sent you blackmail or sent this stupid robot agent against you, and I tried to avoid your towns also. I don't think I took any of your towns, although we did fight one time on accident, and I do remember you winning, of course, and you could have forgave me, but you didn't. You stole my town.
That's true.
Wild. That happened once, but I don't hold a grudge. And then the last guy, Rico Jr., he kind of occurs throughout the whole thing. During the beginning, I don't know how random it is, but during the end game, he showed up like Like, we were all fighting him, I felt like, at one point. Like, how can he be at 4 locations at once?
I think that there was one chapter where where he got introduced, like maybe chapter 3 or 4 or something, and then after that it was like we thought that he would be gone for good, but he just kept popping up randomly on a yellow space
And he
for the
is
remainder of the game.
usually, I think he's kind of leveled at where you want to be during that chapter. So in the beginning, we were kind of under leveled, and I think if we would have ran into him, we definitely would have died. But later on in the game, he was
Yeah.
not scary at all. It was like, bring it on, chump.
Something we should mention here that we didn't remember to mention is what you can get from, is it Rico Jr. who gives you the keys to heaven or whatever?
The angel wings, yeah.
So I was one of the very few lucky people, well, the only lucky person, I suppose. Hang on, I need some water. Rico Jr. can give you some really great weapons if you beat him. He's very high level. It's going to take you a week to beat him or whatever. He's tough. And I beat this dude. He gave me angel wings, and we found out prior that if you go to this one dungeon and you get to the very end of the dungeon and you have angel wings, you'll go up to the castle in the sky, which we jokingly called heaven throughout the game. And
That's what it was.
I got to the end of the dungeon without the angel wings. That sucked. Had to go run into Rico again like 6 hours later in the game or whatever, and I got the angel wings, went back to the dungeon, went all the way, and it was actually so worth it. We didn't know what was going to happen because typically castles are just something you acquire in this game, but this was like a whole separate, like, perfect dungeon where there was nothing negative that could happen to you. I stayed here, and I could have stayed there the entire game if I wanted to, but I could just level up. I could get like the best weapons in the game. I could get the best shields, the best equipment, the best items, just on endless repeat, and I could just fight all these enemies that were pretty high level, but they weren't like destroying me.
Yep.
It was like, what the heck? Like, this was such a good place to be. But yeah, I just wanted to mention that with Rico Jr.
Yeah, well, I never got to experience that, but I did get angel wings at the end, but it was like, why would I go up there? But yeah, you literally landed on the space, and you're like, yeah, I get to do it. And then once you land on, like, a dungeon space to get into the dungeon, that's your turn. Like, you don't get to enter the dungeon until the next turn. So he literally starts the next turn still on the space, and he's like, what the heck? What the hell happened? It was really funny. But it was so worth it
you have
when he got up there.
Yeah, it was funny. I think if you're cool with it, I think you would be better equipped to talk about the contracts.
What? Because I got them a lot? What are you trying to say?
Yeah.
Okay, so this next thing is related to the contract, which we just talked about, and it's technically, I guess, a class, but it's like a not permanent class.
A job,
and it's called
yeah.
being a darkling. Yeah, whatever, job, class, anything. It's called being a darkling. And so basically, the parameters for being a darkling is you have to be in 4th place for at least 2 weeks. I think sometimes it lasts a little bit longer, but you'll know that, you know, you start hear the dark whispers when like a purple bat appears above your head, and it's like, okay, that's interesting. And at first we had no idea what the heck was happening. Like, I think you got the bat first, and you're like, now what the heck does that mean? And then very, very quickly I fell into 4th place. I was in 4th place for like 95% of the game, I think, until kind of the end. But like I had the bat like the whole game, and so in the beginning I was like, what the hell do I have to lose? All of my towns are gone. I'm like in debt, and that's when you need it the most. So Weber, the mysterious guy, he will offer you a contract, and if you choose to give in to the dark whispers, it transports you to a specific spot, like right by Dokapon Castle, and you turn into a darkling. So it takes away all of your items, all of your equipment until you come back to being a regular person. It takes away all your towns and all your money. So you basically start at 0 again, but you have like these really super cool powers. So it lasts for 14 days, or if you die, it'll end sooner. All your field statuses will be healed. So like all your curses, all your foot sores, all your blah, 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 blah. You lose all your money, your items, your towns. Like I said, your equipment's taken away, but it does not take away your castles. That's the only thing that you can't lose. Castles are like pretty stable. So if you want to have a consistent asset a consistent income and high assets, get a castle. Anyway, you get like a permanent super spinner, which we talked about briefly, but it gives you either 1 to 5 spinners every single turn. It's completely random, so you get to move across the map like crazy. Every turn. Oh, also at the beginning of every turn, you spin a special spinner that gives you Darkling currency called Dark Art Points. And you spend these on like a special shop where you can literally terrorize the kingdom. Best things you can spend Dark Art Points on is taking towns and castles from people, but there's also like laying a bunch of traps, or I can't remember what the other ones are, like move certain enemies to like different places, or like it's really the whole point of the Darkling is just to get revenge on all the rest of the players. So it's really just
Which
wreaking
is
havoc.
it's so cool. Like Mario Party should incorporate something like that. It is actually it's actually such a cool thing in this game. I liked it. We
I
didn't even
agree.
take full advantage of it.
No, because when I first became a Darkling, you're tricked out in like purple. You're really cool. You got like you look like a demon. You have angel wings, or like you have demon wings or whatever, bat wings, and it's really really cool. But when I had first read about it on the internet, I looked at, of course, a Reddit page from 15 years ago because that's what you do, and it was like, do not fight anyone. You were like super low level. That's like the only disadvantage of being a Darkling. But that's in fact completely opposite. You have like super cool equipment. It's not like one kill, night lights out, but like you're gonna seriously mess up your freaking fellow opponents. The only thing you can't do when you're a Darkling is you can't go to any towns. You can't heal because obviously you don't need to. But when you land on a town that's already taken over by a CPU or another player, it spawns a new enemy there, and so essentially that town is not owned by anyone anymore. It's back to being unowned. It's back to 0. So that's cool. And then you also gain experience points equal to defeating that monster. So like if you land on a town and it spawns a monster, you get like 300 experience points or like 600 experience points. And you don't get to collect those experience points until after you turn back into a regular person and after your first battle. So like you'll level up 6 levels when you become a normal person again.
Yeah.
And so I did this again. Didn't really understand a lot what to do, but I think that after I was a Darkling, I think I was second place for a while because I had taken so many towns, and then I went back and reclaimed those towns once I turned back into a regular person, and that was super, super awesome.
Yep. Yeah, so highly recommend doing that. But it is a drawback because you're like if you have like 15, well, that's a lot. If you have like 10 towns, um, you lose everything, and it is tough to take that plunge. But I think you or I would have done it more if we knew how to use it properly
Yeah.
because we never fought anyone when we had it.
Mm-mm.
Um, and it was just like we were scared to do things. We just didn't know what the heck we were doing. But it turns out Darkling mode is one of the coolest things in this game.
Agreed. It's definitely leveling the playing field.
Let's briefly mention the enemies. This number, is this right?
That is not supposed to be there. No, that is not right.
Okay.
Huh.
Okay, well, there's a ton of enemies in the game.
Dang. Okay, hold on. You talk. I'll,
Um,
I'll get it.
okay. There's a ton of enemies in the game. The game actually gives you like a gallery at the end. It tells you how many enemies you witnessed and like how many are in the game. And Hannah's gonna pull up that number. But there's a pretty good variety. There's a pretty good
Hmm.
difficulty. What's the number?
It is
Oh,
110 out of 126.
oh, dang! We saw almost all the enemies in the game.
Uh huh. But still not all of them.
Um, difficulty, like it scales accordingly. Honestly, there is you go continent to continent, and once you get your bearings, once you figure out what the heck you're doing in this game, like you're gonna be at the right level as you get to each continent, and you'll be fighting enemies that are 5 levels lower than you max.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe some that'll be exactly your level, and you will fight them, and you'll start one hitting them just like in a regular RPG, honestly. But fighting the CPUs is a whole nother story. We were at an obvious disadvantage not having played before, and the CPUs started out the game just like taking towns, taking,
It's crazy.
getting castles and crap, and just roasting us alive. Um, and they were right from the get-go, just right. They were ready to get you and kill you, and we weren't ready for that. We felt like they
No.
frequently were spinning the right number that they needed the whole game.
Convenient.
um, yeah, they got the towns really quick. I mentioned that they leveled up super fast. Before we knew what the heck we were doing, they were leveling up, and so, like the first 4 chapters of the game, maybe 5, we were third and fourth place, and it was a gap between third and second. Like we
Huge.
we did not know how to play this game, but it all worked out in the end. But no spoilers. They leveled up really quickly. Um, they were ahead of us for a long time. We played cooperatively against the CPUs. I talked about that.
Yep.
And yes, even though we avoided them for most of the game, they always seem to be going for Hannah because it was like, I mean, it just felt personal. It was like, what is going on with these guys?
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
I spend the whole game avoiding them, literally not making eye contact, not even going near them, like running away in the opposite direction no matter where I was trying to go. And every single time, they would hit me with field magic for no apparent reason. Although you got hit with a bunch of field magic too, especially towards the end. But like the blackmail, I got the blackmail every freaking time. Especially with one CPU, he really had it out for me. The other CPU was kind of like, wishy-washy, but like one of them really freaking hated me, and every possible thing that he could do to disturb me or put me back a level or kill me, he would do it. Every single time, no hesitation, directly on me, directly all the attacks. It was awful, and I was in last, which doesn't make any sense.
That's what I was gonna say. You were in last.
For 95% of the game, I was in last, completely behind, totally behind everybody, like millions and millions, $100 million, right? And they're just like the attacks over and over, which I was kind of thinking that maybe it's in his programming to just shit on the fourth player so much that they're like, okay, fine, I'm gonna become a Darkling. And so then it kind of sets the whole thing over again, which was my thinking. I have no reason to confirm this, like no evidence, but I feel like that's probably what it is. Bastard.
And so, I think we can get into our final thoughts here. Only other thing I wanted to mention before final thoughts was that the town mayor, there was like, we couldn't stop laughing about how ugly and disturbing this one town mayor was. So there's only like roughly four different mayors across the 50 different towns, and we weren't even sure like how they could choose which mayor went to which town. But it sure seemed like 90% of the towns were owned by this disgusting looking doll of a human being.
Freak. Scary.
He was like this really, like, everything's polygonal because it's just a HD version of a PS2 game. Everything's polygonal as heck. But this guy was shaped like a pear with some skinny little legs. He had the biggest cheeks, and they were like pink circles on the cheeks. And he had the biggest, most open eyes you've ever seen in your life. And it was just so horrifying. He would just look at you with this menacing smile every single time. And he'd be like, hey, welcome back to your town. Thanks for stopping in. Want to stay the night with me?
Yeah, hey. I'll be right next to you. Yeah, it was like a jump scare every time because they kind of like zoom in on his body as soon as you get into town. It's like, oh, Jesus. Dang. Scary.
If you're not driving and you're listening to this, I would suggest you look this guy up. It's pretty hilarious.
It's freaking terrifying.
Just Google town mayor Dokapon Kingdom.
Old man, yeah. Ugh, terrifying.
All right, final thoughts. I think let's talk about some positives. I would say, if you guys couldn't tell, I enjoyed the heck out of this game the entire time. I never once was like, man, I really don't feel like playing this game. I never really was like, oh, I dread this. I need to not play right now. But I will say we had to cram it in to get it done. I told you it's August 29th. We literally finished the game last night. Yeah. I can't believe that was only a day ago. It's been a long week. The game is super fun. It is very competitive, and because we were on a team, in air quotes, a team, it was like that's one way to play, but like if you're playing with four people that you actually know, man, you would hate each other by the end of it. Like you could seriously
Mm-mm.
end relationships with this video game.
Yeah.
And I know people say that a lot with like Smash and Mario Party, Mario Kart, but this game, it's painful, and it's pretty painful.
Definitely. I think
Um,
next time we play a game, I think we should have like bingo or something. But I kid you not, like at least 20,000 times a night, we're like, God, I freaking hate this game. Like this game sucks. It's garbage. It's trash. But then something good would happen and be like, yes, God bless. Like this is the best game ever. I love it. Fate shines down on you or whatever. But like, it's crazy. It'll have you hating it and loving it at the same time. But I kept wanting to come back. Like every time we were done for the night, I was like, dang, I could have gone for another week. Or like, dang, I really wanted to beat that boss. Or like whatever it was.
yeah.
It's awesome. It
Yeah, I
really
mean, we
was
had a
super,
blast.
super fun.
We were playing till midnight, 2 a.m. sometimes if it was the weekend. Like we played late and we had a blast. We laughed all the freaking time. It was a super good game.
Yeah.
Um, Basically, what did I write here? Yeah. So when we were going in, like we knew what everyone knows about this game. It's an RPG board game. It always sounded like super fun, and
Yep.
I'm happy to say that it did in fact turn out to be a blast.
Mm-hmm.
I loved that even though we played with CPUs, we didn't have to sit there and watch them battle every battle. Thank God.
Mm-mm.
The uh,
Thank God.
the game was smart. I can't speak for the OGs, but the remaster speeds up the CPU battles, or like you
Yes.
don't even have to watch the CPU battles, and then like everything else the CPUs do, whether they're at the store, like in a cutscene, like whatever it is, it's like triple speed. And
It's so fast.
this game was 30 hours with that. Like without it, it would have been kind of unbearable.
I agree. Like
um,
imagine waiting for someone to play online. Like I gotta look at this. I gotta look at that. It's awful.
oh my gosh, that sounds awful. What do you have for likes?
Likes, like you said, I really like that you could just skip past all the CPU stuff. I don't really have a super bunch of likes that I had. I just have more like improvements. I mean, I like the whole thing, but like, I wish I don't know. I wish they would have had more like stats for things. I just felt so lost during everything.
True.
Like usually RPGs, it gives you exactly what it does, what stats it does, this, and this. And this one it was just like, I don't know, random.
I thinking about it now, I wonder if they were trying to make it a little bit more user friendly, like for regular people that aren't hardcore gamers. In that vein,
Yeah, that totally could be. I mean, I can see that, but still, like just a little bit more information. I don't think would
for
have been.
sure.
But yeah, I guess that makes sense. We were talking about earlier how like there's hardly any customization for your characters, but like after
Mm.
that there are so many choices for everything. It's crazy.
Yeah, you had a lot of control over like which direction you wanted to take your stats in, because 2 points every single time you level up. We ended up
Hmm.
leveling up 70 plus times in the game. That's 140 stat points. You can seriously like skew one way, and so both of us just like had no magic. We didn't ever
Nope.
rank up our magic stat.
Mm-mm.
Um, and anytime we got a new weapon or equipment item, like we would always go for the one that increased everything else but magic. And so like it never bit us in the butt. It was just
Mm-mm.
like, okay, we won't use magic. And like I don't know, that might have also been our magic defense. It's very unclear, but I never felt like I was just getting like one shotted by an enemy using a magic defense. And so
Not usually.
um you could be a magician if you wanted to. That's also a job, but like you could be a magic user and just like completely get rid of your attack if you want. You could literally play
Hmm.
the game however you want. Um
Yep.
but you missed a ton because you never did anything in speed, and by the end of the
Yeah.
game your speed stats like 20 and all your other stats are like 300, 200, like crazy high. and that actually came to bite you in the butt a lot. Like you
Yeah.
were missing, and then you lost a lot of battles because of that.
Yeah, it wasn't necessarily something that I have ever really looked into for RPGs. I kind of just always skipped it, and it wasn't. It I probably lost about a fourth more battles than you did, and not because I think my battles were like twice as long as yours were though. Because usually I could heal, like I would
Oh
get
yeah.
lucky enough to heal, so it wouldn't be so bad. But yeah, I did miss a lot, and it wasn't like I was missing every single turn. It was like maybe I missed 1 out of 5 attacks, but like usually the first attack in the game I always missed. Usually after that it was fine. It wasn't like missing every single one. The other thing I was going to say that I really liked is it didn't feel very grindy. Like, I didn't have to freaking go around a town over and over and over again. There was a point where I was severely underleveled and I had to do that, but I think it's just because I didn't land on any yellow spots for a while. I was, like, trying to get towns or whatever. And so it never felt like I had to sit in one space and go around and around and around and just fight enemies all the time. Like, I feel like they leveled us really nicely.
Yeah, I think you're right. If we had actually played the game correctly from the beginning, then neither of us would have had to grind. I think we both had our own little grinding session for a little bit because we had to
Mm-hmm.
play catch up.
But it wasn't for very long. It was maybe a couple weeks at most.
Yeah. Most of mine was in the heaven area.
Heaven.
um I a little gripe I had with the game is that like a lot of the items just weren't worth using. Um
Mm-hmm.
Probably never touched like half of them. And maybe that's the way that I went about playing the game, but I don't know. It could be totally different on a second playthrough.
Yeah, I think we didn't really know how to use the weapon, or I mean, how to use some of the items. Like Vanish, like we looked at that in the store and was like, well, what the heck does that do? That's stupid. But like, I feel like everything
Yeah.
had its specific job. We just didn't know what that was until much, much later. And at some point, it was obsolete. Like we never needed it. Like, oh, that would have been useful 20 hours ago. But now it's like, I don't need it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of nuances like that that we probably won't even discover in a second playthrough. It's just so much stuff.
Some things that I would like to see in this game were like it would be nice if you could collect money when someone landed in your town. I know we mentioned that a few times, but
Yep.
uh we didn't even explain it, but like you can sleep at anyone's town or anyone's castle in the game,
Mm-hmm.
but you have to pay if it's not yours. And so I don't think that goes towards your taxes or whatever, but
No
I think
idea.
it should. I
Mm-hmm.
like if it doesn't, I think it should. That would be a cool Monopoly-like feature.
I agree. And then to
I
kind of add on
Oh,
to
you're good.
that, I had an idea very similar to that is you could set a price that you wanted the other players to pay if they
Mm,
landed on your town. Kind of like Monopoly, but you could specifically set it. And then if the player didn't have enough money, then you could be like, okay, well, give me this item instead, or give me this town instead. Or like if they were like really down bad and they had to heal if they were going to like a boss or something, be like, okay, give me this town and a bunch of money. Like some negotiation kind of thing would have been cool.
yeah, for sure. Um, I think that it would be cool if there was a bank space where you could put your on-hand assets into your actual assets.
Mm,
Because you could be walking around with $3 million cash, and one of us probably was at some point, and
definitely
it's
was.
just like you could lose that in an instant. You could get
Mm-hmm.
blackmail and just have to spend 2 million of that sending it back and forth.
Me,
Yeah,
I
you
did
lost a
that.
ton of money.
It was a battle between me and CPU one, I guess. He got blackmail. He gave it to me. He spent like whatever, and I had, of course, I had in my bank like 3 mil. So the first time I sent, or no, I think I had like a mil and a half. So the first time I sent it, it was 750 G's to get rid of this stupid blackmail. And then of course he sent it back, and then so then I had to spend half of that. Spend like 1.3 mil not trying to die, and I didn't. So that was nice. But still, you
um,
can lose it in a second.
yeah. I what else do I have? Since the game takes place in weeks, it would have been cool to see seasons incorporated in some way.
Hmm.
Um, I would like at the very least they could have at least changed the setting. You know, it starts to get cold in winter, whatever. There's snow on the
Yeah.
ground. Um, that, now that I think about it, that would have to change per continent, I guess, because I don't know. It didn't have to be that realistic, but anyways,
Right.
I could totally see events being based on different seasons. Like you incorporate holidays. Oh, it's October. Here's an NPC that's like Halloween themed or something. Like that would be fun.
That'd be cool. Except, yeah, they would have to market that more towards the U.S. though, because not everyone celebrates the same holiday, especially not Japan. But yeah,
Yeah,
I see
that's
what you're
true.
saying. But yeah, that would have been fun. Dang, seasons would have been so cool.
Anything else you want to mention?
I do. So one last thing, we talked about how every time you leveled up, you could redistribute points like however you wanted. So some RPGs let you do this, some don't. Um, so when you're playing this game, you get to pick specific classes, and you can change your classes. I mean, your jobs, whatever. Jobs, classes, same thing. You can change your job willingly at whatever point. So if you didn't want to master one, you wanted to choose another one, you could. The only thing is, you're playing as let's say, a magician this whole time. So you rank up your magic super, super high. And then you have all these points in magic, but then you decide, oh, another better job has opened up. I want to do that one, like a ninja skill or whatever. And they don't need a lot of magic. They need high speed. So, like, you can't redistribute those points to kind of fit the class that you're in. And so I think that stopped me from changing my class more often, if that makes sense. So if there was some way to, like, I don't know if it's like redistribute 10 points or like every week you redistribute 1 point or like something along the lines of that where you can change depending on what job you have, I think would have been nice.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
But obviously they wouldn't let you do all of it. That would be way too OP, and then you could just do it whenever you wanted. But like, I don't know, every time you visit a bank you can do wonders or something along those lines. I'm sure they can come up with some
Yeah.
stupid equation for it. But
Um,
yeah, that's all I got.
I would like to discuss the final chapter. So, if for some strange reason you're listening, you're like, I don't want any spoilers. This is your time to take a break. But for the rest of you, let's talk about Chapter 8. This was a long time coming. We finally played it last night, or the last 2 nights.
Yep.
Um, so Rico Jr.'s been all around this map, terrorizing us randomly. We talked about him already. And then Chapter 8 comes up, and the king's like, holy crap. I guess he's actually at Chapter 7, is this guy, Overlord Rico. It's very unclear what the relationship is, but it seems like it could be Rico Jr.'s father.
Mm-hmm.
And
Or Satan.
you defeat you have like a fight with him at the end of Chapter 7, and it's only one person. So, whoever beats the chapter, like we said, you get a ton of money, you get perks and everything, you get a
Mm-hmm.
castle. You defeat Overlord Rico. That's it for Chapter 7. He's actually back. Chapter 8, he says, I hate you, meet me in the gates of heck. Literally, that's not me not saying profanity. That's literally what they called it.
Right.
um he says that, okay, so you show up at the gates of heck, and then you get there, and it's like, okay, give up 1/4 of all the towns you own. And you're like, whoa, hang on, like, I just spent 8 chapters, 20 hours of my life
Mm-hmm.
getting all this
Mm-hmm.
crap, and you want me to throw away so many of my assets? um it was completely unclear. Like, once again, one of those things in this game where it's like, okay, am I losing my cheapest towns, my most expensive towns? Is it random? Who knows? We still don't
Yep.
know.
Nope.
But you have to get rid of 1/4 of your towns in order to enter, and they give you a passport to go to and from the gates of heck. Make sure you don't lose that, because you can lose items in this game very easily. um but you take your passport, then you can enter. uh and then the sequence of events is like, there's a clone down there, you have to figure out which one is yours, fight that thing, which is already level 70. You have to fight your way through a multi-floor dungeon. You have to fight a strong demon before getting to Overlord Rico, and then you fight Overlord Rico, and that's it. Like, I hope you weren't doing anything, because as soon as any one of the players defeats this guy, the game's over. um and so I went in there. Hannah, what the heck were you doing? You were buying towns.
So I had just, Yeah, I was buying towns because the previous chapter, I was the one that defeated Overlord Rico the first time
Oh,
down here on
yeah.
Earth, and that was like that took me a whole play session. I think that took me 6 hours. That whole 6 hours was me trying to do that because I lost a weapon, had to do it again, blah 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 blah. Anyway, I beat his ass, and then in that same dungeon there was a store that had charm potions, which is if you get one of those and you chloroform the mayor, you can get the town. So I loaded up on those, and I was just trying to take over towns while everyone else was going to heck.
And that ended up being pretty smart because Hannah got a freaking castle and so much money from defeating him in chapter 7.
You darn right.
That you went into first place. I think you were in fourth and you moved
Yep.
all the way up to first.
Yep.
And I had been moving up in the ranks at this point as well. I had been buying a lot of towns, and I think I might have been in first before that. And so you took first place. We're actually like tearing these CPUs up for the first time ever. And it became like before it was like, all right, we should beat this game for the podcast, and then all of a sudden it was like, all right, one of us needs to beat these CPUs for the podcast.
All right.
And
That
so
was funny.
I tried to get to the Gates of Heck. I actually went in there and died. Whenever you have to fight your clone, I got a little greedy and I did a strike attack, and of course they countered because why would they let you strike the freaking one of the most difficult enemies in the game?
Of course.
So I got whooped, and then after that, I spent the next hour trying to get back to the Gates of Heck, trying to spin the right number to get back in there, and also have enough potions while I'm in there, and just like there's so much prep work that has to be done. It goes back to what I was saying, where like you have to get all this stuff done, and you can get so sidetracked, and you're just praying to spin the right number. Week goes by after week, and you're just like, oh, I just want to spin the right number.
Yeah.
It's it's a frustrating video game.
It's so frustrating. But then, yeah, so we think we should mention that the CPUs, their, like, behavior in the end game was so weird. Like, they were so go, 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 conquer all these towns, kill us. And then as soon as, like, the final chapter arrived, they were just, like, off in the very first continent doing God knows what. And then as soon as the 8th chapter started, they were like, okay, let's go finish this boss. Let's go get him. And they were, like, totally gung-ho. It was like, what is happening? It was so strange.
It was very strange. There were times where you're just like, what is wrong with the CPUs? Are they broken? Are they glitching? Like, I
Yeah.
don't think they were, but just how they're coded is kind of weird, and they would just go and not work on the objective for hours at a time.
I don't know if they were purposely programmed like that so it'd give us an opportunity to kind of like catch up, which was nice. It was just strange. But yeah, anyway, the CPUs ended up freaking getting there before we could.
Yeah, and so CPU 1, who was like our most hated enemy in the game, was the one who went to the Gates of Heck, and ultimately, actually, they both were in there trying to get to Rico, Overlord Rico, and CPU 1 ended up killing him before I could even get into the dungeon past the clone. And CPU 2 was also in there, and she got her butt handed to her in there, and funny enough, she was in first 95% of the game. The whole time you were in fourth, she was in first. And then she just had this crazy downfall for like the last 2 chapters of the game. And it was really looking like one of us was going to win there. And as soon as this CPU 1, who I guess was in third at this point, as soon as he beat Overlord Rico, I'm like, okay, he's going to get $100 million. Like, he's going to be first place for sure. But as far as we could tell, the game ends and, like, the king doesn't give you money for defeating the final boss.
He might have gotten some money, but the main thing that he got was all the towns that weren't owned or had, like, monsters on them, he got. Yeah. So he did get some towns, but...
Yeah, so because you have to pay a quarter of your towns to get that passport, there's a bunch of open towns, but Hannah stayed behind, never went to the Gates of Heck, and she was acquiring a bunch of the towns, and so this guy might have actually won if she didn't do that, but there were so many towns that were in Hannah's name that guess who freaking wins at the end of the game? Hannah gets first place. The underdog.
And it was so sweet. Oh, so sweet. I wasn't really playing to win. Like I said, I was just kind of playing like to finish so that we could. But like it was oh so sweet that I was in fourth place for so long, and then snuck up out of there and got first. So nice.
Every week the game gives you your stats and how you stack up against your peers. It'll tell you your total assets, how many towns you have, a bunch of crap like that. And then there's a graph at the end. And CPU2 just was crashing. And then just like out of nowhere, you see this graph. Hannah has come through and has just destroyed everyone. It wasn't even close.
No. It was, so blessed. And I guess another thing that we should add is the CPUs, while they did acquire a lot of towns, they didn't really invest in a lot of them. So I think the reason why we had so much money throughout it is because we kept investing. Every time we landed on a bank spot, we invested. And they never did that. I think they did it a couple times, but it was like only to just edge us out of whatever place we were in.
Yeah, we went to the investing spot so much. Pretty much any time it was available to us, which helped a lot.
Yeah, it did.
Helped you more than it did me, apparently.
Yeah.
So I would say, if I had tips for someone that was new to this game, immediately start winning towns, leveling up. Do not wait at all. Read the manual or check out the in-game help, because you're not going to know how to do this game without it. Unless you just listen to a 2-hour podcast on it, you might be okay.
True.
Go into this understanding that the game can be brutal at times. I have this incredible example for you. Hannah, at the end of the game, had to fight a Rico Jr., and she was literally holding blackmail and nitroglycerin, and she was cursed. It was the funniest thing to me. It's just like that's how life dealt her that time. It was crazy.
Yep. And any one of those things could have killed me at any point.
Instantly.
It's hilarious.
Okay, so the thing that sucks is like, I personally don't think this game is going to be fun with like your regular casual gamers that are like,
no.
Oh, let's come over and play Monopoly. Let's come over and play Mario Kart. Like I'm this is not me disparaging anyone. It's just like, this is a freaking RPG, and if no one knows how, like we play games, 365 days a week out here, a week, wow, a year out here. We're constantly gaming, and this game was still super tough for us to digest. And first of all, it's not a 2-hour or 90-minute round of Mario Party. It's 30 plus hours, and it's a serious time sink. So that kind of sucks. I would say, don't just try to play this with your casual gamer friends. Maybe it's a friend that lives 5 states away and you have to play online. I had a blast doing that.
Right.
Or maybe it's a friend that you have that you guys can make it happen once a week or a couple times a week. But it's not going to be a quick game, that's for sure.
And it's not like typical RPGs. It's not one of those games that you're going to be able to just put down for months and pick back up and be like, oh yeah, I remember exactly what I was doing and where I was going and all this stuff. It's like an RPG. There's a lot to go with it.
Yeah. We did that much time, about 30 hours with 2 humans. If you did 4 humans, it would be even longer. Like 50 hours. I don't know. It would be way longer.
I didn't even think of that. Dang.
Anything you wanted to add there?
No, I think you hit it. Just expect to be picked on for absolutely no reason. And also don't be reckless. Like, yeah, it might pay to make a few quick decisions or whatever, or decisions you don't really think about on the spot, but if you have an opportunity to heal, you need to heal, because this game is brutal and it just things will come out of nowhere. It's my advice.
Yeah. Why don't you take us through the stats here?
So we got the final stats here. We already said that I ended up in first place, but I'm going to go ahead and give you the level and kind of total assets and all that stuff. So I ended up being a level 72, my total assets being 34,472,559. Hey.
Just say the millions.
Hey. No, it all counts. I'm just kidding. I just really wanted to say that because it's a big number. But yeah, I ended up at 34.4 million. Blonde Boy CPU1, who we hated. He was my most hated enemy. I hated everything about him. I wanted him and his family to die and be cursed for multiple generations. He was leveled to 74. His total assets were 25 million, so significantly lower, but he also had 14 towns, so we were kind of similar playing field there. He just didn't invest in his. A lot of my towns were level 6.
Yeah.
And then Christian was in third place. Just saying, he was level 72, total assets being 21 million, and he had 11 towns. So not too far behind.
I had 3 less towns than him. I only had 4 million less than him. So me and him kind of neck and neck, but you had almost 10 million on this guy. So you were leagues and bounds ahead.
Yeah, and it's so funny because I was like 15, 20 million below everyone else for so long.
Yeah.
Like they had quadruple the amount of money that I had for so long. And then CPU2, who, she was weird. She did some weird things, ended up in 4th place. She was level 73. She had 13.3 million, and she was always ahead the entire time. And she had 16 towns, so she had more. She just either had a bunch of towns in like the beginning levels where they weren't as much, but she also didn't invest. So she had a lot of level 1s, level 2s.
Yeah, and this doesn't even account for castles, which were worth quite a bit, but it's also worth mentioning. What was I going to mention that was also worth mentioning? I was going to say we're all like nearly at the same level, which was pretty cool, like 72, 73, and 74.
Mm-hmm.
It just worked out like
really
that.
Interesting. And then it also gave you, which we didn't realize until later, but on the beginning menu, it gives you like gallery stats, and it shows you like all the jobs, weapons, and shields and stuff that you've encountered in your playthrough, kind of like an unlock screen. And so out of 24 jobs, we only saw 11 of them, and so it's male and female jobs, so it's really only 12 jobs, but we still only saw about half. As far as weapons, we only had 15 out of 67. That is crazy. I can't believe it was so low.
Yeah, we were constantly buying weapons. It's kind of crazy.
So I don't know if it's just that we didn't see them in like the store, or like we didn't buy them and equip them. So I don't know quite exactly what that stat is. Same thing with shields. We only saw 18 out of 40. Accessories, 11 out of 33. So that's like your power gloves, your ring of magic, blah, blah, all that kind of stuff. Local items, which is the stuff you can get from your towns, which we didn't really utilize that skill a lot. We got 13 out of 80.
Yeah.
That is crazy. And then hairstyles, again, we mentioned it. We only got 6 out of 28. I have no idea how to unlock the rest or where you even see those. I looked, trust me. So, yeah.
Overall difficulty of the game, I think we've touched on that a bit. It was
brutal.
I mean, it scaled. What do you have to say about the game?
Difficulty, it's a very steep like learning curve, but I wouldn't say it's necessarily hard. Like, you're not going to be so discouraged and like that you're not going to want to play it again. It's just know that the game is definitely out to get you from day 1, week 1. But it's not so difficult that you're going to die every time. You'll learn and then just kind of adjust. But it's not really that difficult. There were some difficult enemies at times if you didn't have the right stats, but nothing that was going to put you down too much.
You could almost play for like 3 hours to really understand the game and then start over and play a real game. But that's a lot of time sink. I don't know who listening is like down for all that, but I would almost recommend that. You really could. I mean, Hannah still won, so it's possible. But
sure is.
It just, once we finally learned how to play, it was like, oh, I wish I did so many things earlier in the game. I wish I'd known, which was kind of a lame feeling.
So, I mean, that's just because we went into it blind. We didn't read the manual or anything. All we knew about it, like you said, was that it was a board game RPG, party game RPG. But But I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily not say to do that, though. I think it was fun kind of learning it with somebody, but I couldn't imagine doing it by myself. That would definitely discourage me, and I would never pick it up again.
Yeah. So, like, just like talking about it, it feels like this is such a minute group of people that would actually find this game enjoyable. Not like find it enjoyable, but like your situation has to be okay. I have someone else in my life, or that I can play with online, that I'm actually gonna play this with for 30 hours, or like your husband or wife has to be a hardcore gamer just like you. Like it has to be someone that you see frequently enough that you can actually play this in full. So I feel like that already doesn't apply to so many people. It kind of sucks that this game is such a small audience, I feel like.
It's a niche of a niche of a niche of a niche. And we just somehow fit into it.
Heck yeah we did. I am very happy we played it. Final thoughts, did you enjoy the game? I think we did.
Yeah, I would definitely play it again. And I'm actually so sad that it's the only really Dokapon game that we can play online together. It really sucks.
It's wild that this exists. It's wild that we met each other on the internet like 8-10 years ago, however long it's been now.
Right.
And it's wild that we just happened to play through this together. And yeah, thanks for freaking making this happen, for buying it for us.
Absolutely.
I had a great time, and we should definitely play it again.
I agree. It was so much fun. Like I said, every time I stopped playing it, I was like, dang.
14% of your Instagram followers have played this game. So that's it.
Yeah, I should have put another poll saying like, did you finish it or did you just start it? You know what I'm saying? Like I've been way, 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 way lower.
I think that concludes it. Is there anything else we need to add here?
I don't think so.
Great game. Very niche audience. If that fits your bill, go buy this game. Go play this game.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. If you can find it.
And with that, let's move into the post show, the been buying, been playing, the gaming news.
Nice.
Tell me all the games you bought, Hannah. It's been 6 weeks. Before you say absolutely nothing, it's been 6 weeks.
Okay, good. I'll pull up my list here. It's real short because it's got nothing on it. But I'm very excited to play, what is it? Echoes of Wisdom. I pre-ordered that one. Does that count?
Is that September?
Yeah. Couple
man.
weeks. 3 weeks, I think. Very excited.
Yeah.
But, no, that's it. That's all I bought.
That's a big week. There's Plucky Squire, there's Zelda, and there's Epic Mickey all that same week, I'm pretty sure. It's kind of crazy.
Oh, dang.
But Zelda will be getting my money first.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Already got it pre-ordered with the freaking acrylic stand.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
Been buying. All right, so I got a couple of Japanese imports. We had like that Robot Taizen's episode sort of recently. I just got a couple of SD Gundam games on the PS2.
Oh.
They were like $1.50 each, and they're complete.
Wow.
They're called SD Gundam G Generation Seed and SD Gundam G Generation Neo.
Seed, like SEED seed?
Oh yeah.
Wow. I don't like that. Like that at all.
So those will collect dust for eternity. I also got, so this is kind of cool. I don't think I talked about this. Yeah, I definitely did not. So I have a guy who I met on Twitter who lives in Brazil. He and I got to talking about collecting one day, and became friends, and it's been a few years since I've known him, and I asked him if he would be down to buy some games for me from Brazil and then ship them to me, and I would just like pay him whatever he pays for all that stuff. And he was down, and he's actually had a couple of games just like sitting for me for like 2 years. And I kind of just like out of the blue hit him up like a couple months ago. I was like, "Hey, remember those games? You still got those that I paid you for?" He's like, "Yeah, they're in storage." And so, anyways, he ended up helping me out. He went and shipped those games for me, and I was able to get a couple of really cool games that didn't, I got a PC Rayman 2 Brazil variant. We didn't obviously get it here. It's I mean, we got Rayman 2 on PC, but it's this really cool big box Brazil release that's it's got like some pamphlets that I've never seen in any other releases before. It's a really pretty box. It's really cool, and definitely cheaper to get it through him. And like, I don't know, it's not like I could just go on American eBay and buy Brazil games. It's not always that easy, especially something minute like a Rayman PC game.
Mm-hmm.
So that was awesome. And I also got the Flintstones on the Sega Master System. This is a game that like only released in Europe and Brazil of all places. And Brazil has the same region code as North America. It's the
Oh.
NTSC. And so I haven't tested this, but I'm pretty sure if I had a Master System, I could play this game on a US Master System. So
Ooh.
yeah. So I'm just happy to have it because it's another Hanna-Barbera game for the collection. I love me some Hanna-Barbera.
Huh. That's interesting. Well, yeah, you can't play the Japanese PS2 games on normal PS2s, can you?
That's correct. That is also NTSC. Um, yeah, I don't know a whole lot about region locking and stuff.
Stupid.
Um, I also have gone to GameStop in the last month, I've gone twice, including today, actually. Um, I'm sure you've heard like rumors and stuff, but like GameStop is getting big on the retro stuff now.
They just had announced or put it. I saw it on Twitter or something. They're like, yeah, we're bringing retro back, but only to like select stores.
It's really weird. It is definitely select stores. It's weird because they've always kind of had them, I feel like. I mean,
Yeah,
I
they
never
just
saw them, but I
they
would
did.
get on Twitter or Instagram and it would be like, "Hey, look at all these freaking DS Pokemon games I just got from GameStop." I'm like, "Where? How?" um, but I actually like
What?
have a store nearby that has some retro games, and it's actually really cool to see them, especially when they're complete. But
Yeah.
I yeah, so I was able to get Far Cry 2 and Burnout Paradise both on Xbox 360. Those were like literally $5, and they're not worth more than $5. But
Dang.
they were just nice, complete, solid games to have, so I bought them.
Nice. Are those retro though? Come on.
I know, right? But what I actually went in the store for was to pre-order Visions of Mana, and I went again today because I don't have it next to me. I was going to show you on
Aw.
FaceTime. I got Visions of Mana, and it came with the most beautiful golden steelbook that you've ever seen in your life. And
Oh.
yeah, it was a
Can I get to
GameStop
see it?
exclusive pre-order bonus. I am actually so excited to have this game. I started playing it before we started recording. Played through the prologue and everything, and I'm really excited. I think it's going to be a blast.
Dang. Your favorite one? Perhaps?
Seems doubtful, but it could be a good one.
Dang.
And I got my 503rd GameCube game. It's called Zoo Cube. Big fan of Zoo Cube.
Isn't that an expensive one?
It's like $8.
So really expensive, yes.
51 games away from the set.
Wow. Are they all sports titles or are you now on the like the $1,000 ones?
It's a little of both.
Hmm. Nice.
So, what have you been playing, Hannah?
I have been playing the shit out of Shin Megami Tensei 5. Not the Vengeance one, just the regular old version that I've had for
Mm,
like 4 years. And it is so good. We've talked about it
good.
before. I don't like really turn-based RPGs, but like something about this one just makes me want to keep playing. It's like really easy to turn on and turn off if I get bored. It's like super grindy, but like not terrible at the same time. Brutally difficult though. Not quite like this one. Like I know the game's not out to get me specifically, but like if I am even one level below whatever the boss is, I'm gonna get my ass creamed. No doubt about it.
Dang.
So you have to be like on par or better. It's really compelling to like keep playing because the main mechanic of it, Shin Megami Tensei series, is to get to like befriend these demons and then kind of use their powers to level you up, make you more powerful, but also to like fuse them with other demons to make even more powerful demons. So that's really, really fun. So like you want to meet all these demons, you want to explore these areas and see all these demons. So it's something that I don't think I've experienced with any other kind of turn-based RPG, but very, very fun. I think I'm 40 hours in now, so I don't know where I am in terms of story or like if I'm almost done, but the story is very interesting.
I don't think you had started it
I think so. No, maybe I
because
hadn't.
it was. I think the Atlas episode inspired you to go back to it, which was only 6 weeks ago.
It did. Right. Wow, look at you. Yeah, I think what was I going to say? Oh, it's kind of like the story is kind of like Bayonetta-esque. It's like kind of like religious-y, kind of like, oh, you think origin is this way, but it's actually this way. You think you're the good guy, you're actually not, blah, 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 stuff like that. So I find that very fascinating. And also, like, all the towns that you explore are like ruins, and it's like, ooh, something really, really bad happened here, and that's like my jam. I love that.
Nice. I'm glad
It's
you're
so good.
enjoying it.
I'm loving it. That's the only thing I've been playing.
So
A lot of RPGs.
that and Dokapon, yeah.
Yep.
We're like 6-7 weeks into. Oh no, we're only like. Oh yeah, we're like 6 weeks into Nintendo World Championships NES Edition.
Oh.
I think I had just picked that up. Like it was waiting for me right after we had done the podcast, and I've played that game at least once a week. When it first came out, I was like daily. I'm having such a good time with that game still. Um, there's 150 challenges. I've tried all the challenges. I'm working on getting the S rank for every single one. It's gonna take a
Dang.
long time, but it is a lot of fun. I mean, I can only complain about the things that everyone else has already complained about, which is there's no leaderboards. Um, Multiplayer is super lackluster. Like my cousin came over and I was like, "Oh, dude, like him and I love doing high score based stuff and trying to beat each other." Um, but rather than playing the multiplayer, we would just rather log out of my account, go to his account, let him play single player, and then try to beat mine for like I don't know 20 minutes, and then we'll switch back to my account. It's like it's just not. They could have done it a lot better. I know it's a $30 game, but it's just kind of missing some very basic content that would make it more fun. But I am still having a blast with it, and I don't know. I'm enjoying the weekly world championships. Um, but yeah, it's a good time.
I bought it and I have it. I'm looking at it and I haven't played it. Cause like I was caught up more in like the ooh look it's a big box, it's got all these fun things in it, like ooh look at this reproduction NES card, ooh it's so cool. I just wanted that. I don't care about the rest. I don't care
See,
about speed or beating speed.
At the beginning of the episode, you said back when I used to be a collector, and then you just said something like that. So
A big time collector, like a retro collector. I don't think I've gone to Goodwills, but I just haven't found anything. But like, it's just so easy to go to Target or Best Buy and get the newest, greatest thing. You know?
I think you're still a collector, just modern games.
Thank you. I'll take that.
I'm playing Final Fantasy VII. I actually
Still?
have finished disc
I'm just
one.
kidding.
Yeah, still. So Visions of Mana came out today, and I was like, man, I would love to beat Final Fantasy VII before that. Didn't happen because of Dokapon. Totally fine.
Whoops.
But I'm past the halfway point. I think I'm 2/3 done with Final Fantasy VII, which is cool. But it is going to be halted while I play through Visions of Mana, and then it's probably going to get halted while I play through Echoes of Wisdom. So who knows if I'm going to beat that this year, but we'll see.
So you're saying you're enjoying it then?
I actually am. I think Final Fantasy VII is a great time, but it's just got to wait, unfortunately.
There's just things you want to play more. I get it.
I've been playing Super Monkey Ball, believe it or not. I thought that would be like chill bedtime game on the DS.
Mm-hmm.
It is excruciating. I actually have you played the series?
Uh-uh.
I've like I've played the early levels in the games, and I'm like, oh, this game's like super easy, and then I'll just like not play it anymore because I thought it was too easy. Well, like I don't know, you get past the first 20 minutes, and it's like, oh, this game is really hard. It's just the beginning really just like I guess shows you how to play, and then all of a sudden it ramps up really fast. Um,
Hmm.
it's tough. Like I enjoy it, but it's painful.
I thought that game was. I know I say this, but I thought it was for kids. Like I feel like
It's
little
so
kids used to
cute,
play it on the
right?
GameCube all the time. Yeah,
Yeah,
cute little
yeah.
monkey. Hmm.
And then they added Crash Bandicoot the Insane Trilogy to Xbox Game Pass. And I
Oh.
played that game on Switch like years ago, but I don't know, it's just like I've been really in the mood for something level based. And this was weeks ago before I was engulfed with Final Fantasy and freaking Visions of Mana, but I just wanted something level based that I could just like throw on, play 2 levels and turn it off. And so I've been playing a little bit of that as well. Always a
Hmm.
great time playing Crash.
Fun. Very fun.
All right, let's talk news. What's going on in the gaming world?
I have a few things for you. So Nintendo did something kind of weird. They doubled up on their Nintendo Indie Direct and their Partner Showcase, which I'm sure everybody knows what that is. Partner Showcase is more for like the companies that they work with, like Sega, Atlas, all those kind of third-party companies, and then Indie is obviously for indies. So yeah, they put them back to back, and it was like 45 minutes, and they showed some fun stuff. Did you end up watching it or no?
I did not.
Ah, cool, cool, cool. Anyway, so some of the cool things that I care about. There's a bunch of stuff, but most of it I don't care about. The Yakuza is finally coming. The series is finally coming to the Switch on October 24th. It's specifically Yakuza Kiwami, which I don't know where that falls into the timeline, but I've always seen how freaking cool the Yakuza series is, especially with Like a Dragon, I think that came out. It's like super badass, super like traditional kind of Japanese. It always looked really cool, but never had an opportunity to play it until now. Hopefully more come over. It's weird that they haven't. And then the Castlevania DS games are coming in a collection on August 27th. You excited about that?
I think it's really cool. They have a fourth game on there that's not the DS games. It's a well, I guess technically there's 5 games. There's an old arcade Castlevania called Haunted Castle that they threw in there,
Mm-hmm.
and then M2, the developers actually remade Haunted Castle and put it in there. So it's a pretty solid collection. I might have to pick it up.
Dang, that's crazy coming from you. Let's see. The other one is Suikoden 1 and 2. It's coming on March 6th. I know that's not how you pronounce that, but that is indeed. It's an HD remaster, which looks pretty cool. Those games are real expensive, aren't they?
I think they are, and I also think that might be the correct pronunciation because I've always said Suikoden, but I think it's Suikoden. I think you might have said it right.
Well, yeah, it's a Japanese game. I know that's how you say it, but I know that's not how people over here say it. They're like, what
Oh.
incarnation is that? And then also, this came from the Indie Direct, and it was really weird, but it caught my attention. I think it caught a lot of people's attention, but it's by Team 17, the people that do Overcooked and Moving Out. It's Date Everything. And it's literally a dating sim where you can date literally everything. Like you can date a lamp, you can date a vacuum cleaner, and they're all kind of like personified into like these really attractive like people. But like the vacuum cleaner has like the vacuum cord around
What?
his neck, and he's got like all his like the brush tool and like the really long extended tool like on his belt. It's so strange. Not my cup of tea, but it was like, on earth am I looking at? So if you're into that, that's coming. If you're into dating, funky dating sims.
I
The
gotta
other
watch that
thing,
trailer.
it's so freaking crazy. And there's like Team 17 logo. And I was like, oh, I like their games. This must be, cooperative, something fun. Nope. So strange. The other one is Tetris Forever. It's a big collection of older and wacky Tetris games from over the years that I had never even heard of. I don't know if you saw it, but there's the game called Hatris from 1990.
Yeah,
some
I
sort
mean, I've
of.
heard of all of them. I don't think I've played any of them.
No, and there's also Tetris 2 and Bomb Bliss. Like there's a whole collection, and I think they said they're coming out with more. I think they said the collection was 14, and there's only a couple here. But there's Tetris Time Warp, Super Tetris 3, Tetris Battle Gaiden or Gaiden, Super Bomb Bliss DX. Like tons. I've never even heard of Bomb Bliss, but I guess it's like you connect a row, whatever, and then bombs go off, and then it clears your map, which is pretty cool. Um, I've
It's
only
developed.
ever just played regular Tetris or Puyo Puyo Tetris.
It's developed by Digital Eclipse, and they keep making amazing collections of old games. Like we played that Ninja Turtles one on my Xbox. They made
Yeah.
that, but
Oh,
they keep killing it.
that's awesome. And apparently there's like a music archive and also kind of like a history of all of these games in the series and stuff. So it seems like they're putting a lot of love into it. So I think I might pick it up just because Tetris is so fun. And like I have never played any of these other games. So it's
Nice.
awesome. Then there is Tales of Graces F, which is a Tales of game. It's a remaster. I believe it came out on the PS3. That's just getting a standard old remaster. But it looked cool. I don't think we only have Tales of Vesperia, I think that's what it is, on the Switch. So it's cool that another Tales game is coming over. Not the newest Tales, unfortunately, but at least a Tales game. And then this one looks super fun, and this was like the one that I was looking forward to. It's Rune Factory Guardians of Azuma, which is apparently a reimagining of the Rune series game, like in general. Like I know they have so many Rune Factory games, and this is supposedly like a revamp of the series, try to get more people into it and stuff like that. I've never played a Rune Factory game before, but it looks really good, and I really enjoyed Harvestella, and it looks very close to that, but maybe because they have so much experience with like farming sims that it's going to be a little more in depth, but not like too scary for like new players. So that one looked good.
That's awesome.
Then Pizza Tower, which I guess people were freaking out about. I don't know anything about that. Do you?
I've seen it for like the last 2 years on Steam and stuff. It's like a freaking Wario Land clone, but
Ah,
apparently it's good. Apparently it's really good.
interesting. I just thought mentioning that because everyone was freaking out about it. And then Atelier, whatever that one is. Yumiya is a new entry in the Atelier series. I played one of these a really, really, really long time ago on the PS3, and I enjoyed it. But like I had stopped playing it for whatever reason, and I just couldn't get back into it. But this one seems like really fun. It's like a new jumping on point. Apparently, it's like a new alchemist or like a new main character or whatever. So it's like not following the same series, and it seems like a good jumping on point for new people.
Nice.
The last two things I have here is Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Red Rescue is on Nintendo Switch Online. It's weird that they picked this Pokemon game. Yeah. Weird. Also, Nintendo did something super interesting and I think really, really smart with their new Famicom Detective Club. I'm sure you saw the teaser with the Emio, the smiling man, like the bag over his head. Everyone was like, ooh, Nintendo's getting into horror? Like, what the heck is happening? And they had the whole internet talking. But it's just
Yeah.
another Famicom Detective Club. And they've actually been releasing, like, chapters. Like, I think you can play the first 3 chapters of the game, and it carries over to, like, the game if you purchase it. So, pretty cool.
Oh, for a demo, you mean?
Yeah.
That's cool. The game just came out today, actually.
Oh, did not know that. Huh. Weird for a Thursday, but weird.
It seems like if you look at the calendar, every single Nintendo game has launched on a Thursday this year. It's kind of weird.
Huh. That is peculiar. Doesn't matter. People are going to get it regardless if it's a Thursday or Friday, but very nice.
Um, so that Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster collection on the Switch that was super expensive and sold out in 5 seconds, that got an ESRB reprint in the last 6 weeks
Oh.
and sold out in 6 seconds.
Oh, man. Rats.
The Plucky Squire, when I mentioned it earlier, it finally has a release date. I didn't write it down. I think it's it's like September, right next to Zelda.
Mm-hmm.
New SpongeBob game, the Patrick Star game, looks pretty good. Not gonna
That one looks
lie.
fun as shit. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
That one looks awesome.
um, I'm sure you saw this because how could you not? Limited Run Games announced this collector's edition for Sonic X Shadow Generations.
Mm-hmm.
It
Mm-hmm.
comes with a Dreamcast statue featuring Sonic and Shadow mounted on it. It's like, I want to say it's like $300 or something crazy.
Dang. Whoa.
Um, but that is gonna sell like hotcakes. I know people are just gonna freaking fangirl over that so hard.
Dang. Is that like a pre-order thing, or is it they only have a set amount?
It's one of those pre-order things.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Um,
Dang.
Nintendo Museum is opening in Japan in October.
I forgot. Did you watch the video? Their
No, I didn't watch the
direct.
video yet.
Oh my gosh, it is so cool. It's they put like so much love and effort into this game. I mean, this museum. It's like of course they have like all the games and like all the systems and whatever, but they also have like at the bottom like an ode to like the cards that they used to make like when they first started the Carta cards. And they have like a have you ever been to like the freaking like a Sea World or like a thing and there's like a holographic mat that you can step on and it projects like the fish up from it and they're like swimming around. Have you ever seen what I'm talking about? And you step on it and it like interacts with it. You know what I'm talking
Yeah,
about or no? Well,
yeah.
they have one of those on like the bottom floor of this museum and you can actually like play interactively like on your phone and an app and like interact with these cards. It's really really cool.
Dude, I would probably need a whole day there. I would read every word on every placard. Like, I would just be in heaven.
It's so cool. And they have like literally everything that they've ever worked on. Another thing they have is like kind of like a batting room where you can like play with one of their old systems or whatever that like shoots a ball out and you can whack it. But they have like a whole
Wow.
set and they have like a TV that's playing like Mario on it and if you hit the TV like Mario jumps or like you can interact with all these different things in the room. It's so neat.
That's so
It's
cool.
cool.
I need to go to Japan.
It's so awesome. And that was just they just like scratched the surface of like all the things. I think they said they have like 14 or 15 like interactive things and they showed like 4. So there's stuff that we don't
Yeah.
even know about. So
I
cool.
saw the memes about the giant controllers and stuff. That looks really cool.
That is cool, yeah.
Um, Without a doubt, the most exciting announcement the last 6 weeks. 2 Point Museum has been announced, Hannah. It's coming.
Ugh,
I'm really excited.
why? I just that is such a genre that's just like I don't get it. I really don't.
Um,
Happy for you, but like
the
man,
PS5
don't get it.
Pro. There was rumors today of a PS5 Pro. Could be being announced in September. Um, they're unsure if it's gonna have a disk drive. They being the leakers or whatever, the people putting these rumors out.
Of course.
Who knows? Who knows how much of that is true?
Who knows?
You mentioned the Castlevania collection. I did want to mention that the Switch. If you buy it on Switch, it supports touchscreen, which is incredibly cool.
That's awesome. Dang. Love when developers do that.
Yeah. Um, and then freaking Croc is being remastered. I had like 3 people hit me up when this game got announced. I couldn't stand streaming that game. It was so painful.
I was about to say, I think I watched that and I feel like you wanted to throw your controller across the room.
It's a tank controls platformer, and all they need to do is fix the controls. Honestly, I bet the game would be so good. That's all they have to do.
Man, where's our freaking Gex collection? Gosh darn it.
Oh yeah,
It's been
limited
like over
run.
a
What the
year.
heck?
It's been over a year.
All right, we got 2 hours and 40 minutes of Dokapon Kingdom for your
Yeah,
viewing
man.
pleasure, folks.
That's right. Absolutely. I think we covered pretty much everything, at least that we experienced. I'm sure there's stuff out there that we didn't even see.
I wish someone gave me a 2 hour and 40 minute podcast before I played the game. That's all I'm saying.
No, I don't think so. I think it was fun not knowing anything.
Yeah,
It
you're
was
right.
fun just learning.
Hannah, let's wrap it up. We have no idea what the next episode's going to be.
No,
It
we
will
don't.
be it will be the end of September for sure. You're going on
Mm-hmm.
vacation.
Yep.
We'll figure something out. And any other housekeeping? We're coming up on episode, or 5 years. We're coming up on 5 years in a few months. And
Dang.
thank you for listening to this long podcast. Give us some
As always.
feedback. Where can they find you, Hannah?
Game Girl Advance SP. Oh my god, it's so late.
Whoa.
Game Girl Advance SP on Instagram. Dang.
I am at Bird Dog Gaming on every social media except TikTok, because we don't support TikTok in this household. We'll see you next month
No, we don't.
for another episode. Thanks for listening.
See ya.